Welcome to Enigma Vault, where every locked memory hides a bloody truth. I'm Nightfall, and tonight we'll step into the shadows where secrets never die. The ticking sound of the bomb still echoes in my ears. Although the crisis has been resolved, the shadows of Philip and Raymond linger. The bombing they carefully planned could not have been just for intimidation. There must be a deeper purpose behind it. What's more, my life experience is still a mystery, like a fog covering me and making it impossible for me to see the road ahead. I rubbed my temples, forced myself to concentrate, and looked through the information on the serial murder case. The victims had different identities and backgrounds. The only thing they had in common was that they all appeared near the port shortly before they disappeared. A thought flashed through my mind. Could this serial murder case be related to a transnational human trafficking network? The thought made me feel uneasy. If this was true, then the scale of this case was much larger than I had imagined. I immediately contacted Sophia and told her my idea. After listening to me, she also felt that my speculation was not groundless, so we decided to call Jack and Anna to analyze the clues we had at hand together. There have been some suspicious ships frequently entering and leaving the port recently, Jack said, pointing to the route map on the computer screen. And the places where some of the victims disappeared overlap with the routes of these ships. Anna added, I checked the registration information of these ships and found that most of them are shell companies. It is difficult to track down the real boss behind the scenes. It seems that our speculation is correct, Sophia said solemnly. These ships are likely related to human trafficking. So what do we do next? Jack asked. After thinking for a moment, I said, let's start by investigating the port's cargo records and ship information to see if we can find some clues. The air in the port was filled with the salty smell of seawater, and the roar of various machines intertwined together, appearing noisy and chaotic. Sophia and I carefully looked through the shipping records, trying to find some suspicious clues. Look at this, Sophia said, pointing to one of the records. This cargo ship named Seagull has been frequently traveling to and from several Southeast Asian countries recently, and the cargo declarations each time are very vague. I nodded, also finding the ship suspicious. We decided to go to the port terminal to see if we could find out more information about the Seagull. The dock, we met a port worker named Carlos Garcia. Carlos looked very ordinary, wearing the port's uniform and a professional smile on his face. He enthusiastically answered some of our questions about the port's operating procedures, but my intuition told me that this man was not as simple as he seemed. I pretended to touch the work badge on Carlos's chest casually, and a strange feeling came over me. My ability to be reminded of something was activated, and some fragmented memories flashed through my mind. The dim cabin, the tied-up people, the terrified eyes. Although these fragments were blurry, they made me feel a palpitation. Carlos is definitely connected to a human trafficking ring. I tried to remain calm, continued to exchange a few words with Carlos, and then found an excuse to leave. Did you find anything? Sophia asked. I lowered my voice and said, I suspect Carlos is related to a human trafficking group. I need more evidence to confirm my suspicion. A gleam of light flashed in Sophia's eyes. Then what should we do next? My palms were sweaty as I gripped Sophia's arm tightly. He found out, I said in a low voice, my heart beating like a drum in my chest. Carlos's original route was to the dock area, a place where all kinds of people mixed together and where filth and dirt were hidden, and it was also the most likely place for human trafficking transactions. Now he suddenly turned and walked towards the city center, which was completely unexpected to me. Carlos was much more thoughtful than I expected. I think he might have noticed we were following him. Perhaps he did not see us directly but discovered the abnormality through his keen intuition or some anti-reconnaissance skills. After all, after years of working in the criminal world, it's impossible for him to be completely alert. I thought quickly about the countermeasures. Continue tracking? The risk is too great. Since Carlos is already alert, If we continue to follow him, he might bite us back or even expose our identities. Besides, the city center is densely populated and has complex buildings, making it more difficult to track him and easier for him to get rid of him. Let's retreat first, I said to Sophia, and she nodded in agreement. We quickly disappeared into the crowd to avoid a head-on confrontation with Carlos. After hiding in a cafe on the corner, I began to sort out the clues I had so far. Carlos contacts a mysterious organization, which is most likely a human trafficking group. I touched the railings and seats where Carlos had stayed, and felt some blurry images, containers, bumpy cabins, terrified faces. Although these images were fragmentary, they were enough to prove my guess. Carlos changed his schedule, perhaps to test the situation, or to meet with other members of the organization. I analyzed. The dock area is still a key area, but we can't act rashly. Sophia pondered for a moment and said, we can start from other aspects, such as investigating Carlos's social relations, or looking for traces of that mysterious organization. Her suggestion gave me new ideas. Since Carlos is in a human trafficking group, he must have accomplices, and these people are likely hiding in every corner of the city. If we can find some clues about them, maybe we can follow the clues to find Carlos, or even uncover the entire criminal network. We need to change our strategy. I took a deep breath. We can no longer passively follow Carlos. Instead, we need to take the initiative and find his weaknesses. We developed a new plan. On the one hand, we would use the resources within the police station to investigate Carlos's background information and social connections. On the other hand, we would go deep into the dock area to look for clues related to human trafficking and people Carlos might have come into contact with. In the evening, we returned to the police station. I sat at my desk, looking at the lights of thousands of homes, gradually lighting up outside the window, but my heart was filled with uneasiness. Carlos's change of itinerary undoubtedly added new variables to the case. What on earth is he planning? What secrets does that mysterious organization hide? I felt like I was standing in a fog, unable to see the road ahead. I could only rely on my intuition and experience to grope forward step by step. The phone on the desk suddenly rang, breaking the silence in the office. I picked up the phone and a strange voice came from the receiver, low and hoarse, as if the voice was deliberately lowered so that I couldn't hear the other person's gender. The other party only said one sentence, but it made me feel cold on my back, as if I had fallen into an ice cave. He said, "Officer Aiden, you are playing with fire." The call was hung up, leaving a busy tone. My heart sank suddenly, and an ominous premonition came over me. Carlos, or the organization behind him, has set its sights on me. They knew who I was, and that I was investigating them. This phone call was not just a warning, but more like a provocation and a silent threat. I looked at the flashing neon lights outside the window, my mind full of thoughts. What kind of conspiracy is hidden behind Carlos's change of itinerary? This battle against human trafficking gangs has just begun. Jack's news was like a small stone, causing ripples on the calm lake caused by Carlos's disappearance. Human trafficking. I immediately became alert. Carlos is acting secretively, changing his schedule, and now a survivor of human trafficking has shown up. Is there any connection between the two? My intuition told me that Isabella Rodriguez might be the key to solving the mystery. Sophia agreed with me that we must see her as soon as possible. Jack is a very reliable person. Since he dared to tell us the news, he must have made arrangements. Isabella's safety should not be a problem. We met Isabella in a safe house. She was very young, but her eyes were full of fear and anxiety. She hugged herself tightly, as if this could protect her from the harm of the outside world. Jack introduced us, emphasizing that we were there to help her. I know how difficult it is for a girl who has just been through something so horrific to trust someone else. What she needs most now is not interrogation, but a sense of security and understanding. I tried to speak to her in a gentle tone, assuring her that we would do our best to protect her and bring those criminals to justice. I also told her that we were tracking down a man named Carlos, who might have something to do with what she was going through. Isabella trembled noticeably when she heard Carlos's name, which further confirmed my guess. I continued to counsel her patiently, telling her that only by telling the truth could those criminals be brought to justice, and more people be prevented from suffering the same pain as she had. Sophia was there to comfort her, handing her water and patting her shoulders, as if she were a frightened animal. Gradually, Isabella's mood began to stabilize. She recounted her experience in a fragmentary manner. She believed Carlos's sweet words and was tricked by him onto a ship, where she was knocked unconscious. When she woke up, she found herself in a strange place, surrounded by many girls who were imprisoned like her. They were deprived of their freedom and suffered inhumane treatment. Isabella's description gave me chills. "Carlos, who are you?" I clenched my fists, my heart filled with anger. I must find him as soon as possible and bring him to justice. I realized that Isabella's testimony was important, but not specific enough. I need more information about that secret place. I remembered my ability to be reminded of something. Maybe it can come in handy. I explained my abilities to Isabella and asked if she would let me touch some items on her body in the hope of gaining some clues. Isabella hesitated for a moment, but finally nodded. I first touched her clothes, but didn't get any useful information. I touched her shoes again, still nothing. Finally, my eyes fell on a necklace around her neck. It was a very ordinary silver necklace with a small cross as the pendant. "This necklace, can I touch it?" I asked softly. Isabella nodded, gently took off the necklace and handed it to me. I carefully took the necklace, closed my eyes, concentrated, and felt the remaining energy in the necklace. Suddenly, some vague images appeared in my mind. Deep blue sea, towering cliffs, and a hidden cave. The image flashed by briefly, but it was enough. I opened my eyes and took a deep breath. I know I am one step closer to the truth. The secret place Isabella mentioned is most likely in that cave. I gave the necklace back to Isabella and thanked her. I knew what to do next. Cliff, cave, seawater. These keywords kept circling in my mind. I have a feeling that there is a huge danger hidden there, but it also contains the key to solving all the mysteries. In Isabella's description, the place was surrounded by mountains, shrouded in clouds and mist all year round, and accessible only by a steep path. Now it seems that she was most likely talking about this mountainous area.
Damn, Carlos got there first.
What exactly does he want to do? The uneasiness in my heart grew stronger and stronger. "Jack, are you sure Isabella can be trusted?" I asked in a low voice. Sophia also cast an inquiring look. We all know that Isabella was Carlos's former partner. Although she claimed to have broken up with Carlos and provided this clue, her motives are still questionable. If this is Carlos's trap, aren't we walking into it? Jack nodded firmly. I believe her. Isabella really wants to bring down Carlos this time. She lost everything and only wants revenge. I thought about what Jack said. Jack and Isabella have an unusual relationship. He understands Isabella, and perhaps his judgment is correct. Besides, even if Isabella is not trustworthy, we have no way out now. Carlos has set his sights on us. Rather than just sit there and wait for death, we might as well take the initiative.
Okay, I looked at Sophia. What about you?
Sophia shrugged. I don't have any other choice, do I? I trust your judgment. Now we have to face reality. Carlos has set a trap for us. I tried to calm myself down and analyze the situation. Since Carlos set a trap, it means he has some concerns and does not dare to confront us directly. This also means that we still have a chance. We need to figure out the distribution of the traps first, I said. Jack, you're good at tracking. Go scout the surrounding environment and see if there are any clues. Jack nodded and disappeared silently into the woods. He is agile and experienced, making him the best candidate for reconnaissance. Sophia, we have to find a way to get around those guards. I turned to look at Sophia, What do you think? Sophia pondered for a moment and said, "We can use the terrain. The mountain roads here are rugged, and the vegetation is dense. We can try to go around from the side and avoid the main patrol route." Her suggestion makes sense. We are not familiar with the terrain here, so a head-on attack will not work. We can only outsmart them. About an hour later, Jack returned. I found some patrolling guards. They are not numerous, but well equipped and very vigilant. He pointed to several locations on the map. Here, and here are their patrol points. In addition, I also found some devices that look like traps. I studied the map carefully and, combined with Sophia's suggestions, began to make a plan. We must be careful and cautious at every step. We can go up from here, bypass the first patrol point, and then follow this path to avoid the second patrol point. I pointed to the map and explained my plan in detail. Sophia listened carefully and made some additional and revised suggestions from time to time. After some discussion, we finally decided on a course of action. As night falls, the mountains are completely silent, with only the rustling of leaves in the wind. I know this is the calm before the storm. We are about to face a tough battle, and our success depends on tonight. I took a deep breath and looked at Jack and Sophia. I know theirs, and we are ready. "Let's go," I whispered. The three of us disappeared into the night, heading quietly towards that secret place, which was also the center of danger. Carlos set an ambush in the mountains, which was expected, but it also made me more certain that we had found the right place. We followed this clue for several months, and it gradually became clear from clues. Carlos' human trafficking group was like a ghost hiding in the fog, cunning and cruel. Now the fog is about to clear. I closed my eyes and tried to recall the fragments of the scene I saw when I was touched by the scene before. It is a strange ability that allows me to see fragments of past events by touching objects related to the events. Previously, in Carlos's abandoned warehouse, I accidentally touched a lighter, and in the flashing picture, there appeared mountains, dense woods, vague human figures, and reflections of barbed wire. I told Jack and Sophia the details of what I had seen. The barbed wire and the human figure are probably Carlos's traps and guards, Jack analyzed. The mountain road is rugged and easy to defend, but difficult to attack. Carlos wants to trap us to death. Sophia frowned. Isabella's shooting skills are very accurate and can provide long-range support. Jack, your blasting skills can come in handy. Aiden, your ability is the key, and can help us predict the location of the trap in advance. We developed a detailed plan. I was responsible for exploring the way and using my ability of being reminded of something by the sight to sense the location of the traps in advance. Jack was responsible for clearing the traps, while Sophia led Isabella to provide sniper support in the rear. We must proceed step by step. Any negligence may lead to our irreparable destruction. The mountain road is steep. The vegetation is dense, and the air is filled with a smell of damp earth. I took every step very carefully, constantly touching the trees and rocks around me, trying to catch any clues. Sure enough, under a seemingly peaceful patch of grass, I saw a buried trip mine. I immediately motioned for Jack to come over, and he deftly dismantled the trap. Along the way, we disarmed several traps, including trip mines, bear traps, and even pressure-sensitive bombs disguised as fallen leaves. Carlos was more cunning than I had ever imagined. There was a tension in the air as we approached the secret location. I felt my heart beating faster and my palms sweating slightly. I know that the time for the decisive battle has come. Suddenly, several guards emerged from the woods and opened fire on us. Sophia and Isabella reacted quickly and immediately launched a counterattack. The sound of gunfire echoed through the valley. Jack used the terrain to flexibly avoid the enemy's attacks, while looking for opportunities to counterattack. I took a deep breath and told myself to calm down. Now is not the time to be afraid. I concentrated and tried to be aware of my surroundings. I have to find a breakthrough. The fierce gun battle lasted for nearly 10 minutes. With excellent combat skills and teamwork, we successfully repelled the guards. I noticed that one of the guards had dropped a key. I picked up the key, and my intuition told me that this key was important. We took advantage of the guard's escape and rushed into the secret location. This is a hidden cave whose entrance is blocked by dense vines. It is difficult to find if you don't look carefully. In the cave, under the dim light, I saw many prisoners. They had empty eyes and haggard faces. Seeing us show up, they knew we had succeeded. I looked around. This cave was much larger than I had imagined. There were all kinds of items piled up inside, like a warehouse. The air was filled with a musty smell mixed with the smell of sweat and fear. I have a feeling there are more secrets hidden here. I walked over to a pile of junk, reached out my hand, and tried to touch it. Sweat soaked my back, sticking to my bulletproof vest, and my breathing became rapid. The joy of successfully rescuing the hostages quickly dissipated like the ebbing tide, and was replaced by deeper fear. Carlos, the leader of this human trafficking group, reacted so quickly and even mobilized more manpower. What exactly does he want to do? Do you want to catch us all in one fell swoop? I looked around and saw the rescued hostages huddled together in the dilapidated warehouse. They had just escaped from the tiger's den, but fell into another predicament, which made them even more vulnerable. I must find a way to protect them and not let them get hurt again. I walked to the window and looked out through the dirty glass. Outside the warehouse, Carlos's men were all armed with guns and surrounded the entire warehouse. Their numbers are at least 3 times ours, so a head-on confrontation is definitely not going to work. Moreover, we don't know whether there are other forces behind Carlos. If we act rashly, we may fall into a bigger trap. I took a deep breath and tried to calm myself down. The most important thing now is to figure out Carlos's intentions. Does he want to capture us alive or kill us without mercy? If it is the former, we may still have room for negotiation. If it is the latter, then we can only fight to the death. I walked up to Lilith and whispered, "Lilith, take the hostages and hide behind the warehouse. It's relatively safe there. Remember, no matter what happens, don't come out unless I come to pick you up in person." Although Lilith was a little hesitant, she nodded and led the hostages to the back of the warehouse. I know she is worried about me, but she also understands that now is not the time to get emotional. "Aiden," David walked up to me with a serious look on his face. "What should we do now? Carlos has too many people. We can't get out at all." I patted David on the shoulder and signaled him to calm down. "Don't panic. We still have a chance. Since Carlos chose to surround us instead of attacking directly, it means he has some concerns. He may want to capture us alive, or want to get something from us. We need to figure out his purpose before we can find a breakthrough." I looked around again. There were some miscellaneous items piled up in the warehouse. Perhaps I could use these items to create some obstacles and delay time. At the same time, I need to use my abilities again to see if I can find some useful clues from these items. I walked over to a dusty wooden box and reached out to touch it. A familiar electric current surged through my body, and some fragmented images flashed through my mind. I saw Carlos in a dark room, whispering something into the phone. Although I couldn't hear the specific content, I vaguely felt that he seemed to be talking to a higher-level person. This discovery shocked me. There really is someone else behind Carlos. Moreover, this person is most likely the real mastermind behind the incident. I continued to touch other objects, hoping to find more clues. Suddenly, I touched a piece of paper with a string of numbers written on it. This string of numbers looked like some kind of code, but I couldn't decipher it for the moment. "David, look what this is." I handed the note to David. David took the note, looked at it carefully, and shook his head. "I don't recognize this code, but we can give it to the technical department and let them try to crack it." Just then there was a noise outside the warehouse. I walked to the window and saw Carlos walking towards the warehouse door with a few people. It seems that he is about to take action. My heartbeat began to accelerate and an ominous premonition came over me. What exactly does Carlos want to do? This crisis is far more complicated than we imagined. Carlos's triumphant voice came from the loudspeaker, echoing over the stronghold, like the tongue of a poisonous snake. Creep. Aiden, I know you are in there. Don't resist in vain. You can't escape. Come out and surrender obediently, and I can consider giving you a quick death. I gritted my teeth. Carlos, the old fox, was indeed well prepared. I quickly glanced around and saw anxiety written all over Jack and Sophia's faces. Isabella clutched the corner of my clothes tightly, her face pale. I took a deep breath and tried to calm myself down. Now is not the time to panic. I must find a way to get them out. I closed my eyes, concentrated my mind, and tried to recall the fragments of information I had gained from the previous scene. Carlos is cunning and suspicious. Since he dared to surround us blatantly, he must have made all the preparations. A frontal breakout would be tantamount to suicide. The inconspicuous path behind the stronghold flashed through my mind. The road led to a dense jungle. Although there might be ambushes, it was better than a head-on attack. I opened my eyes and said to Jack and Sophia, "There is a path behind the stronghold. We will break out from there. Jack, you will be responsible for making some noise in front to attract their attention and buy us some time. Sophia, you protect Isabella." Jack nodded without hesitation. "No problem. Leave it to me. I know that although Jack looks careless, he is very reliable at critical moments." Sophia also said firmly, "Don't worry, Aiden. I will protect Isabella." Closing my eyes again, I activated my ability to be reminded of something I have experienced. Everything around me became clear in my mind. I could feel the distribution of the enemies, and even hear their whispered conversations. There was indeed an ambush on the path behind, but there were only a few of them. Compared to the densely packed enemies head-on, this is the best option. The action begins. Jack created a series of explosions in front of the stronghold. Flames shot into the sky, and successfully attracted the attention of most of the enemies. I immediately rushed out from the back path with Sophia and Isabella. We hadn't run far when we were ambushed. Several men in black rushed out of the woods, holding various weapons in their hands, and surrounded us. "Damn it, there is an ambush," I cursed softly, pulled out my dagger and assumed a fighting stance. Sophia also drew her sword and protected Isabella behind her. The battle is about to begin. My ability to be inspired by scenes allows me to predict the direction of an enemy's attack, giving me an advantage in battle. I was like a nimble cheetah, shuttling between enemies, and every swing of the dagger hit the target accurately. Sophia's swordsmanship is also very superb. She wields her sword and repels the enemies approaching Isabella one by one. Although we fought hard, the enemies kept coming in droves and we gradually felt overwhelmed. At this moment, I felt a powerful energy wave coming from a distance. This energy was so familiar, yet so strange, that it made me feel a palpitation. My ability to evoke emotions through sight seemed to be disrupted, and a blurry picture emerged in my mind. A tall and mysterious figure approaching us quickly. The gunshots gradually died down, and the air was filled with the smell of gunpowder. My ears were ringing, and adrenaline was still coursing through my body. David Smith, the Interpol agent I had secretly contacted before, and his team appeared like a miracle. I made the right bet. In that helpless situation, I could only choose to trust my intuition and believe in David. After all, compared to Carlos's hypocritical smile, David's appearance was more like a life-saving straw. I took a deep breath and tried to calm myself down. The enemy is routed, but is the battle really over? Carlos is a scheming man, and he won't give up easily. The attack was so precise that someone must have leaked the information. I glanced around and saw Jack and Sophia were there, their faces also full of fatigue and vigilance. "Aiden, are you okay?" Jack asked with concern. I shook my head. I'm fine, thanks to David's support. Otherwise, the consequences would be disastrous. Thanks for contacting me in advance, Aiden. David came over and patted my shoulder. We have been secretly tracking Carlos's actions. The documents seized this time should help us find evidence of his crimes. Documents. My eyes fell on the document bags we had seized. For some reason, a feeling of uneasiness came over me. Carlos is so cunning. Will he let us get the key evidence so easily? I feel like there's something wrong here, and a huge trap may be waiting for us. I immediately became alert and carefully observed my surroundings. Although the enemy has retreated temporarily, who knows if they will come back? Moreover, the network of contacts behind Carlos is complicated, and we don't know how many enemies are lurking in the dark. These documents, I pointed at the file bag and said solemnly, I feel something is wrong. David frowned slightly. What's wrong? Carlos is too cunning. I don't believe he will let us get his criminal evidence so easily. I think there may be traps hidden in these documents. My intuition told me not to take it lightly. Jack and Sophia also realized the seriousness of the problem. Sophia walked over to me and whispered, I feel the same way. Carlos always likes to play tricks. We must be careful. David, what do you think? I looked at David, hoping he could give me professional advice. David pondered for a moment and said, Aiden's concerns are not unreasonable. Carlos is indeed an old fox. We cannot rule out the possibility that the documents have been tampered with. For safety reasons, we'd better find a safe place to carefully check these documents first. I felt even more uneasy. If there is a problem with the file, what could it be? Tracker? Bomb? Or something scarier? I can't imagine. We quickly left the scene and found a relatively safe and secluded place. I looked around and made sure there were no suspicious people before I signaled everyone to start checking the documents. Remember, you must be careful, I reminded again. Everyone nodded seriously. I took a deep breath, and a strong premonition told me that we were about to face greater challenges. Carlos's conspiracy is far more complicated than we thought, and these documents may be the key to uncovering the truth, or they may be the fuse that triggers the crisis. I held the stack of seized documents, feeling the rough texture of the paper against my fingertips, and an indelible sense of unease lingered in my heart. Jack, Sophia, and David sat around me, each with a solemn look on their face. These documents are so clean, as if they were specially prepared, waiting for us to discover. There must be something fishy going on here. Aiden, what do you think? Jack broke the silence, his eyes falling on the documents in my hand. I took a deep breath and shook my head. My intuition tells me that things are not that simple. This feels like the bait in a trap. It smells good, but it's actually dangerous. Just then, the office door was pushed open and Emily Chen walked in hurriedly. She is a smart and capable lawyer who has helped us handle many difficult cases. I heard about your new discovery. Emily's eyes swept over the documents in our hands. Maybe I can help. Her appearance undoubtedly gave us a shot in the arm. Emily's professional legal knowledge can help us interpret these documents from another perspective and perhaps find clues that we have overlooked. We immediately started to work together. Emily carefully studied the format and content of the document, trying to find loopholes and flaws from a legal perspective. Jack and David are responsible for organizing and analyzing the existing intelligence and looking for clues related to the documents. As for me, I used my ability to be reminded of something and tried to trace back the historical fragments of these documents. I closed my eyes and gently pressed my palms onto the document, concentrating on feeling the residual energy fluctuations in the paper. A blurry picture flashed through my mind. A dim room filled with a pungent smell of cigarettes, and a man was nervously sorting out these documents. The images were intermittent and not clear enough, but they were enough for me to be sure that there were deeper secrets hidden behind these documents. Time passed by minute, and the office was so quiet that the only sound was the shuffling of papers. Suddenly, Emily exclaimed, "Found it." We immediately surrounded them. Emily pointed to an inconspicuous string of numbers in the document and said, "This is the information of an overseas bank account. It is hidden very cleverly. If you don't compare it carefully, it will be easily overlooked." My heart trembled, and an ominous premonition came over me. Offshore bank accounts, which are likely related to the transfer of funds by human trafficking gangs. Sophia and I looked at each other and immediately decided to investigate along this clue. We contacted the bank, and with Emily's legal support, we were able to gain access to the account's transaction records. The densely packed transaction records were dizzying to read, but through careful analysis we discovered some suspicious fund flows. The flow of these funds points to a mysterious person, and the account name has only a simple letter, X. I muttered to myself, who is this mysterious X? What is his relationship with the human trafficking group? A strong sense of uneasiness enveloped me, and I felt like I was standing at the entrance of a maze, with unknown dangers and challenges ahead. This is just the beginning. The truth behind it may be more complicated and darker than we imagined. We continued to dig deeper, following the clues of X, and trying to uncover his mystery. Every transaction and every contact is carefully sorted out and analyzed by us. We are like weaving a huge net, trying to firmly capture this X hidden in the darkness. But we don't know what this net can capture, or whether we ourselves will get lost in this net. There is a tense atmosphere in the air, and my intuition tells me that in further investigation, we will face a more dangerous situation, and the true identity of X may be far beyond our imagination. The humid air carrying the smell of the sea penetrated into my nostrils, making me feel inexplicably irritated. Carlos, this name is like a heavy stone pressing on my chest, making me breathless. We finally found a clue. A mysterious figure who may have direct access to the top of the human trafficking group. He has a close relationship with Carlos, and may even be his superior. We even got intelligence that he was about to attend an important meeting, which should have been a breakthrough, but it was like a poison wrapped in sugar, exuding a dangerous aura. I stared at the photo on the table. The figure in the photo was blurry, and I could only vaguely make out the tall figure and slightly bald head. This is all the information we have about the mysterious figure, so scarce like looking for a floating straw in the vast ocean. I rubbed my temples, trying to clear my chaotic thoughts. Who is this mysterious person? What is the relationship between him and Carlos? What does the meeting he attended mean? A series of questions swirled in my mind, but I couldn't find any answers. Aiden, my partner, was standing by the window at this moment, looking at the harbor in the distance. His back looked particularly heavy. I know he is thinking about the same question. We all understand that the opponent this time is extraordinary, and if we are not careful we will lose everything. Carlos, this cunning snake, is like a poisonous scorpion hiding in the dark, ready to give us a fatal blow at any time. We have to move faster, I said, breaking the silence. We need to get more information about this mysterious man before Carlos notices anything. Aiden turned around with a serious look in his eyes. I know, but Carlos has spies all over the city. Our every move is under his surveillance. I walked to the window and stood side by side with Aiden, looking at the endless stream of ships in the harbor, with a feeling of uneasiness in my heart. What would Carlos do? Will he attack us directly, or will they try to sabotage our investigation? I couldn't predict his next move, and the fear of the unknown suffocated me. We spent the next few days in a tense atmosphere. We carefully collected clues about the mysterious person while also being wary of Carlos's counterattack. We are like walking on a tightrope, and if we are not careful, we will fall into the abyss. I started to suffer from insomnia and nightmares. I dreamed that I was trapped in a maze, with Carlos's eyes everywhere. I ran desperately but couldn't find the exit. I dreamed that the mysterious figure stood in front of me with a weird smile on his face, and then slowly turned into Carlos. I knew my mental state was on the verge of collapse, but I couldn't fall down. I had to hold on for the sake of those innocent girls who were trafficked and to bring Carlos to justice. Today, we finally got an important clue that the mysterious person will meet someone in an abandoned factory. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity and we must seize it. We have made a careful plan to catch the mysterious figure at the transaction site. However, just as we were getting ready to leave, we received an anonymous call. The voice on the other end of the phone was low and hoarse, with a hint of warning. "I know what you are investigating. Carlos knows it too. He won't let you succeed." My heart sank suddenly, and a chill ran from the soles of my feet to the top of my head. Carlos, he finally took action. What will he do? Will he stop us from going to the abandoned factory? Will he set a trap for us? I clenched my fists, my nails digging deep into my palms, and an unprecedented sense of crisis enveloped me. I knew a storm was coming, and we were in the center of it. The phone was hung up and the room was silent. Only the sound of my heartbeat echoed in my ears, again and again, getting faster and louder, as if foreshadowing the impending danger. I took a deep breath and tried to keep myself calm. I looked at Aiden, and his expression also became serious. We all know that every next step is crucial, and any carelessness may lead to eternal damnation. The night outside the window was getting darker and darker, as thick as ink, shrouding the entire city in a haze. I have a feeling that tonight will be a sleepless night. Carlos is trying to stop us. I clenched my fists so tightly that my nails almost dug into my flesh. This old fox is finally showing his tail. The more he obstructs us, the more it proves that we are getting closer to the truth, and the more it proves how deep the darkness hidden behind this truth is. I looked at Jack and Sophia, and their faces were also full of solemnity. The current situation is not favorable to us. Jack was the first to break the silence. Carlos is in the open. We are in the dark, and he also controls the resources of the police. Sophia added, "Isabella is the key. Only from her can we get more information about the mysterious person." I took a deep breath and thought quickly in my mind. Since Carlos has taken action, it means that he has noticed our actions, and we don't have much time left. The mysterious figure must be found as soon as possible to uncover the core conspiracy of this human trafficking group in order to completely bring down Carlos. "I have an idea," I said. "I can use my ability to get more clues from Isabella." My ability of evoking emotions through sight allows me to perceive fragments of the owner's memories by touching an object. I found some of Isabella's personal belongings in her room: a silk scarf with her unique scent, a wooden bird she often played with, and a collection of poems she had read countless times. I touched these objects one by one, closed my eyes, concentrated, and felt the vague fragments of memory coming from my fingertips. Fragmented images flashed through my mind: a tall figure, an unclear face, a deep voice, and Isabella's frightened eyes. Although these fragments were blurry, combined with our previous investigation clues, a location gradually became clear: an abandoned factory on the outskirts of the city. I told Jack and Sophia my theory, and they agreed that it was very likely. We immediately began to develop an action plan. Jack was responsible for drawing a floor plan of the factory and studying possible infiltration routes. Sophia was responsible for preparing weapons and equipment and training Isabella some basic self-defense techniques. I continued to try to obtain more information from Isabella and practice how to use my abilities more effectively. Emily, our legal advisor, is responsible for providing legal and liaison support in the rear to ensure the legality and safety of our operations. On the night of the operation, darkness fell and a cold wind howled. The four of us followed the plan and sneaked into the abandoned factory. The interior of the factory was pitch black, and the air was filled with a pungent, musty smell. I walked in front, using my ability of evoking emotions through scenes to sense the traps in advance. Jack followed closely behind, skillfully dismantling the traps, while Sophia and Isabella provided cover in the rear. The factory was indeed filled with guards, who were well trained and well equipped. We engaged in a fierce battle with the guards, and the sound of gunfire and shouting echoed in the empty factory building. With tacit cooperation and superb skills, we gradually approached the meeting place. My heart beat faster and faster, and a premonition told me that we were about to face the core figure of this ultimate showdown. At the end of the corridor, a heavy iron door was closed, with a faint light shining through the crack. I took a deep breath and motioned for Jack and Sophia to get ready. Jack used professional tools to pry open the iron gate, and we filed in. In the dim light, a familiar figure appeared in front of us. My breathing suddenly stopped, and a chill ran from the soles of my feet to the top of my head. It was him. When the smoke cleared, the conference room was in a mess. Raymond Carroll, the sanctimonious philanthropist, was now lying on the ground like a dead dog, cursing constantly. His men were lying all around. Wailing sounds were heard one after another. We succeeded, at least on the surface. I slowly stood up, holding onto the wall, my chest still aching. The battle just now was extremely fierce, and Raymond's bodyguards were all well-trained desperados. If I hadn't been touched by the scene in time and realized where they hid their weapons and their attack patterns, it would have been difficult for us to escape unscathed. For example, when I saw an oil painting hanging on the wall, I suddenly felt a palpitation and a sense of uneasiness, as if I was being spied on. My intuition told me there was something wrong. Sure enough, there was a camera hidden behind the oil painting, connected to the external surveillance system. I immediately alerted my teammates and cut off the surveillance, thus avoiding the danger of us being surrounded by the enemy. The rescued hostages were being escorted away by the police, their faces showing fear and confusion after surviving a disaster. Seeing this scene, I felt a little relieved, but at the same time, there was also a lingering sense of uneasiness. Although this operation destroyed Raymond's human trafficking network, I always feel that things are not that simple. Raymond seemed too calm throughout the whole process, even when he was subdued by us. There was no fear in his eyes. Instead, there was a strange calmness in his eyes, as if he was sure of victory. I looked around, trying to find some clues. Raymond's cell phone was crushed by my step, but his briefcase was intact on the table. I hesitated, then walked over and opened it. There was nothing inside except some documents and a pen. I picked up the pen and looked at it carefully. It was an ordinary Parker fountain pen, but there was a strange symbol engraved on the cap, a pattern that resembled an eye. Alarm bells started ringing in my heart. This symbol seems familiar to me. Where have you seen this before? I tried hard to recall, and suddenly I remembered. In previous investigations, I had seen this symbol on a blurry photo of a mysterious organization that was said to be powerful and spread all over the world. Is Raymond just a pawn of this organization? Thinking of this, I felt a chill. If this is true, then our actions this time have only touched the tip of the iceberg. The real enemy is still hiding in the dark, and is much stronger than we imagined. What made me even more uneasy was that during this operation I discovered some clues related to my own life experience.
One of the rescued hostages actually looked very similar to me.
This makes me wonder if I am also somehow connected to this human trafficking gang. Who are my parents? What secrets does my past hold? I took a deep breath and tried to calm myself down. Raymond's calmness, the mysterious symbols, and the mystery of my own life experience. All of these were like a fog, shrouding my heart and suffocating me. Just then I noticed that Raymond's mouth corners slightly raised, revealing a barely perceptible sneer. At that moment, I was sure that he had a backup plan. My intuition tells me that a bigger storm is coming. Raymond fell, but I didn't feel relieved at all. Victory came too easily, so easily that it seemed unreal to me. He is Raymond Hawke, a man who can cover the sky with one hand. How could he give up so easily? I shared my concerns with Jack and Sophia, Jack, ever the optimist, thought I was worrying too much, but Sophia agreed with me. She is thoughtful and reminds us not to be fooled by superficial victory. People like Raymond must have a backup plan. We have to find out what Raymond's hand is. I began to replay the entire incident, from the moment we discovered the evidence of his illegal experiments to the fight in the factory. Every detail replayed over and over in my mind. Sophia focused on analyzing the information brought back from the factory, hoping to find more clues. Jack was responsible for contacting Emily and asked her to prepare a more complete chain of legal evidence to prevent Raymond from making a comeback. I carefully recalled everything in the factory. Raymond's eyes at that time did not look like that of a desperate person, but rather had a strange kind of confidence. And his men, although they were defeated by us, they retreated in an orderly manner, not like a defeated mob. All these details point to one possibility. Raymond still has a trump card, and he has hidden power that we don't know about. I must strengthen my monitoring of him, and never give him any chance to breathe. We got hold of Raymond's whereabouts through some channels. He seemed to be actively contacting various parties, which further confirmed our speculation. He was trying to use his connections and resources to reverse the situation, perhaps tampering with evidence, or perhaps planning to retaliate against us. We must take the lead and not let him succeed. Just as we were stepping up our monitoring of Raymond, an accident happened. On a seemingly ordinary night, we were squatting near Raymond's residence when we suddenly felt dizzy. I was immediately alerted. This didn't feel right. My ability to be reminded of something I have experienced makes me extremely sensitive to changes in my surroundings. And at this moment, I feel a strange energy fluctuation that is trying to affect our memory. "Be careful," I shouted, alerting Jack and Sophia. "Someone is trying to tamper with our memories." Jack and Sophia also reacted, and they also felt something strange. A figure slowly walked out of the darkness. It was a woman, tall and with cold eyes. It was Natalie Green. I have seen her photo in some materials. She is Raymond's confidant, and is said to have the special ability to tamper with memory. Natalie's appearance confirmed my guess that Raymond did have a backup plan. He sent Natalie to tamper with our memories so that we would forget key information about his incriminating evidence. We were in a tough fight. Natalie's abilities are very powerful, and we must resist with all our might to protect our memories from being tampered with. I tried hard to recall every detail in the factory. Raymond's eyes, his words, the actions of his men. Every detail was like a life-saving straw that I held on too tightly and prevented myself from being swallowed up by Natalie's ability. Jack and Sophia also used their own methods to resist Natalie's attacks. The three of us stood back to back, supporting each other and trying to stay awake. During the fierce confrontation, I suddenly discovered that the way Natalie tampered with her memory was strangely similar to my ability to be reminded of something by the scene. Natalie fell to the ground, covering her head in pain, moaning intermittently. I didn't dare let my guard down and remained on the defensive. Although we cracked some of her attacks, who knows what other tricks she might have up her sleeve. I glanced at Anna, who was slumped against the wall. She was pale and breathing rapidly, obviously affected by Natalie's mental attack. The most important thing now is to ensure Anna's safety. I judged that Natalie had temporarily lost her fighting ability. She consumed a huge amount of mental energy, and the counterattack of my touching scenes ability caused her substantial damage. Although she is cunning and resourceful, she seems to rely more on mental control, and her physical strength is not strong. I don't believe she will be able to attack again for a short time. I quickly walked over to Anna and helped her up. "How are you?" Anna shook her head weakly. "My head hurts, like being pricked by a needle." I looked around. This abandoned warehouse was fraught with danger and was not a place to stay for long. I have to get Anna away as soon as possible. I think Natalie's words are not credible, but we have to be on guard against Raymond and the mysterious organization she mentioned. Raymond is ruthless, And now that Natalie has been defeated by us, he may have other tricks up his sleeve. I have to prepare for the worst. We have to get out of here, I said to Anna. Raymond may have other helpers. Anna struggled to stand up. Okay, let's go. I supported Anna and walked out of the warehouse carefully. As I walked, I looked around vigilantly, guarding against possible enemies. There was silence outside the warehouse. The night enveloped the earth, adding a bit of eerie atmosphere. When I walked to the door of the warehouse, I suddenly felt an inexplicable chill, as if someone was spying on us in the dark. I immediately stopped and looked around, but didn't see anything unusual. What's wrong? Anna noticed that something was wrong with me. I shook my head. I don't feel right. It feels like someone is watching us. Anna also became nervous. We have to get out of here quickly. We quickened our pace and quickly left the warehouse. After walking some distance away from the warehouse, the feeling of being spied on gradually disappeared. I breathed a sigh of relief, but the uneasiness in my heart was not completely eliminated. Raymond and that mysterious organization are like the sword of Damocles hanging over our heads, and we don't know when it will fall. I helped Anna find a taxi parked on the side of the road and let her get in first. I stood outside the car and looked around again to make sure there were no stalkers. Just as I was about to get on the bus, I suddenly felt dizzy and the world in front of me began to distort. I held onto the car door and tried to steady myself. This feeling seems familiar, yet so strange. It suddenly occurred to me that during my confrontation with Natalie, my ability to be reminded of something seemed to have changed. I can perceive the emotions of my surroundings more clearly, and even feel some fragments of memories that do not belong to me. Could it be that there has been some kind of mutation in my ability? I took a deep breath and tried to keep myself awake. I had to find out as quickly as possible the reasons for this change and the possible impact it might have. Because I have a feeling that this is not just an evolution of my abilities, but more likely a sign of a greater crisis to come. I suppressed my discomfort and got into a taxi. The car started and drove into the night, but my thoughts were just like the night, confused and deep. The dizzy feeling came again. I closed my eyes, trying to catch those fleeting fragments of memory, but they were like slippery fish, shuttling through my mind, elusive. I clenched the coffee cup in my hands. The warm liquid did little to relax me. Victor Lee's words are still echoing in my ears. Ancient experiments, sealed memories, mysterious organization. These words are like a tangled mess that entangles my thoughts and makes me feel suffocated. I had to figure it all out, not only to control my out-of-control abilities, but also to solve the mystery of my origins. Jack and Sophia also fell into deep thought. Jack is usually calm, but at this moment his brows were furrowed and his fingers were tapping on the table. I knew that he, like me, was wary of the organization behind Raymond, and was worried about the changes in my abilities. Sophia seemed a little anxious. She kept changing her sitting position and looking at me from time to time. She was the most emotional person among us, and was always worried that I would be hurt by these things. I took a deep breath and tried to calm myself down. Victor Lee doesn't look like a bad guy, and his authority in the field of memory research is unquestionable. If anyone could help me solve these mysteries, it would be him. I decided to trust him at least for now. Dr. Lee, I began. What exactly do you mean by the ancient experiment you mentioned? Victor Lee pushed his glasses on the bridge of his nose with a serious expression. It was a secret experiment conducted during World War II. The purpose was to study how to enhance human memory, and even control and tamper with memory. The specific content of the experiment is now unknown. We only know that the experiment ultimately failed, and all the people involved in the experiment disappeared. Then how do you know this experiment is related to my ability? Jack asked. Because I detected a special frequency in your brainwave activity, which is very similar to the records of the experiment that year, Victor Lee explained. Moreover, The new changes in your abilities that have appeared recently are likely the sequelae of this experiment. My heart sank. Sequelae. These 3 words make me uneasy. My loss of control over my abilities has already caused me a lot of trouble. If it continues to deteriorate, the consequences will be disastrous. Then can you help me control my abilities? I asked anxiously. Victor Lee pondered for a moment. I need more time to study your situation. Your ability is very special, and I need to find a suitable solution before I can intervene. However, I can help you stabilize your emotions first, and reduce the frequency of your ability going out of control. I nodded in agreement. I'm willing to try anything that can alleviate my current situation. Over the next few hours, Victor Lee ran a battery of tests and treatments on me. He used a special device that stimulated my brain and regulated my brain wave activity. During the treatment, I felt an unprecedented peace, as if all my troubles were far away from me. After the treatment, I felt much better. Although the problem of out-of-control abilities has not been completely solved, at least my emotions have stabilized and I am no longer as easily affected by external stimuli as before.
How do you feel?
Sophia asked with concern. Much better, I said with a smile. Thank you, Dr. Lee. Victor Lee nodded. This is only temporary. Next, I need to conduct a more in-depth study on you to find a complete solution to your problem. He paused and then said, and I also need to find a way to help you unlock those sealed fragments in your memory. I believe that these fragments contain important clues about your life experience and that mysterious organization. Just as we were conducting in-depth research, the lights in the laboratory suddenly flickered, and then a rapid alarm sounded throughout the room. The smell of gunpowder had not yet dissipated, and the laboratory was in a mess. I held onto the wall, my chest still heaving violently. Jack checked Sophia's injuries. Her arm was scratched and the bleeding had stopped, but her face was still pale. Raymond's attack came suddenly, which further confirmed my guess. The sealed memories and Victor Lee's research touched on the truth that some people tried hard to cover up. Raymond's previous willingness to cooperate was probably just to paralyze us and secretly observe our progress. Now we have become a threat to him, so he chooses to break off relations with us. Aiden, it's a good thing you predicted their attack route, otherwise we would be in trouble this time. Jack's voice was filled with a hint of fear. I nodded. Although using the ability of evoking emotions through scenes to predict the enemy's actions can give us a short-term advantage, this ability is not omnipotent. It is more like an intuition, based on subconscious responses to subtle changes in the environment and people, and cannot predict the future with complete accuracy. Moreover, frequent use will cause me to be extremely mentally overdrawn, and give me splitting headaches. Sophia gritted her teeth and said, Raymond won't give up. We have to find a way to unlock the memory seal as soon as possible. I took a deep breath and tried to calm myself down. There are 2 most difficult problems at the moment. One is Raymond, who is very powerful and knows our research very well, and we must find a way to seize the initiative before he makes the next move. The second is that mysterious organization. They are also secretly spying on Victor Lee's research. Their purpose is unclear, and it is a huge unknown to us. Neither of these 2 forces can be underestimated. I looked around. The broken instruments and scattered documents reminded me that we had no way out. Raymond's attack not only disrupted our research, but also warned us that if we continue, we will face greater danger. I realized that if we wanted to survive in this game, we could no longer wait passively. You must take the initiative to seize the initiative. Jack seemed to read my mind. What do you want to do? We have to find out Raymond's real purpose first, I said in a deep voice. He tried his best to stop us because he is afraid of what we will find. As long as we can figure out what he is afraid of, we can find his weakness. But how can we know his purpose? Asked Sophia. I thought about it for a moment, and an idea flashed through my mind. Maybe we can use his people. Raymond's organization is huge, and the internal personnel composition is complex, so there must be loopholes that can be exploited. I told Jack and Sophia my plan in detail. Although this plan has certain risks, it is our only chance at the moment. This plan is risky, Jack said with a frown, but we don't have any better solution. Sophia agreed. As long as we are careful, we should be able to succeed. I looked at them, and a glimmer of hope rose in my heart. Although the road ahead is full of unknown dangers, we have no choice. The attack on the laboratory not only did not make me back down, but instead aroused my determination to uncover all the secrets. I have a vague feeling that these sealed memories are not only about my personal past, but also about a bigger conspiracy. A conspiracy that may be enough to change the world. I must know the truth, no matter what the cost. This is not just for myself, but for everyone else who might be caught up in this conspiracy. I raised my head and looked forward with a determined gaze. In the darkness, something seems to be stirring, and I am ready to meet the challenge. This is just the beginning. The real battle has just begun. The attack on the laboratory was like a sledgehammer that shattered my last shred of fantasy of a peaceful life. The flames of the explosion, the thick smoke, and the cold corpses kept replaying in my mind. I clenched my fists so tightly that my nails almost dug into my flesh. I have to stop them and uncover the truth behind all this. I took a deep breath and tried to calm myself down. Jack and Sophia also looked solemn. We all know that this attack is not an end, but a beginning. They wanted to stop me, but the more they tried, the more I was convinced that I was on the right path. I thought of the omens I had seen when my powers had gone out of control, the unfamiliar faces, the impending deaths. Previously, my mind was completely occupied by the fear and anger of the attack, but now I realized that these omens might be the key to solving the mystery. I took out my notebook and densely recorded every sign and every detail I saw. Jack and Sophia also came over, and we started analyzing it one by one. Alex Johnson, I said, pointing to one entry. I saw he was shot dead in an abandoned warehouse. Jack immediately began searching the police database for the name. Found it, he said. Alex Johnson, a couple of minor criminal records, but nothing special. Keep investigating, I said. Focus on his relationships and see if he has any connection to human trafficking or money laundering. Sophia also joined the search, and the three of us divided the work and worked together very efficiently. A few hours later, we finally found a key piece of information. Alex Johnson once worked in a bar called Red Star, which was a stronghold of the local gang money laundering network. It looks like we found a breakthrough, Jack said excitedly. Alex Johnson may know something. However, just as we were about to head to the Red Star bar, a question suddenly occurred to me. If Alex Johnson really had key information, then the mysterious organization would definitely find ways to prevent him from leaking it. I looked through the notebook again, carefully recalling the omens I saw at the time, and one detail caught my attention. There was a man beside Alex Johnson before he died. Wait, I said. In the omen I saw when Alex Johnson died, there was someone else next to him. A man in a suit and gold-rimmed glasses. Can you be more specific? Sophia asked. I closed my eyes and tried to recall the scene. He's of medium build, with brown hair, and he's carrying a briefcase. I described the man as detailed as I could. Jack immediately searched on the computer for someone who met these characteristics, and soon a name appeared on the screen. Michael Thompson, accountant of the Red Star bar. Michael Thompson. Jack read the name. According to our investigation, he is the core figure of the gang's money laundering network, and has access to a large number of accounts and transaction records. That is to say, he is the one who actually holds the key evidence, I said in a deep voice. And Alex Johnson's death was most likely intended to cover up the truth. We realized that Michael Thompson had to be found as soon as possible. Just then, Sophia's cell phone rang. After she answered the call, her face became very ugly. Raymond's people have already targeted Michael Thompson, she said solemnly after hanging up the phone. They are monitoring his every move. My heart sank. Raymond, the leader of that mysterious organization, is always one step ahead of us. We must find a way to find Michael Thompson before Raymond does. Otherwise it will be too late. The three of us fell into silence and the air was filled with tension. I know a new storm is coming. The sound of gunfire was still ringing in my ears, and the air was filled with the smell of gunpowder. I supported Michael Thompson. He looked terrified, but he couldn't hide his relief at surviving the disaster. Jack was dealing with several unconscious guards while Sophia was observing the surroundings vigilantly. We succeeded, got the evidence, and rescued Michael, but I didn't feel relaxed at all. Instead, my heart felt heavy, as if a huge rock was pressing down on me. I looked around and carefully recalled the entire process. It was unusual that Raymond's men were fewer than we expected, and their firepower was not as strong. Raymond is a cautious person, and it is impossible for him to be so careless, unless this is a trap for us to get evidence. The thought gives me chills. But if it was really a trap, what was Raymond's purpose? Is it to lure us into the trap, and then catch us all in one fell swoop? I immediately told Jack and Sophia about this idea. Jack also felt that something was fishy. He analyzed. Raymond may want to find our hiding place by tracking the evidence, or want to see who the evidence will eventually flow to, so as to uncover the larger force behind the scenes. Sophia believed that Raymond may have other purposes, such as using this opportunity to frame us and make us the target of public criticism. There are three possibilities, each of which is fraught with danger. I have to make a judgment quickly so I can formulate the next course of action.
I am more inclined to Jack's analysis. Raymond's personality traits are more in line with this strategy of playing the long game to catch the big fish.
Moreover, if he really wanted to wipe us out in one fell swoop, the firepower configuration tonight would definitely be more than this. The most important thing right now is to ensure Michael Thompson's safety and hand over the evidence to reliable people as soon as possible. I thought of my old friend in the police station. Although he didn't hold a high position, he was an honest and trustworthy person. I contacted him immediately and arranged to meet at a secluded location. After settling Michael down, I began to think about Alex Johnson's disappearance. Since the last time we met, he seemed to have disappeared from the face of the earth. I tried to contact him but couldn't get through. An ominous premonition came over me, and my ability to evoke emotions through scenes occasionally allowed me to see some fragments of the future, which, although vague, were mostly related to danger. And lately these feelings have been growing stronger, and they're all directed at Alex. I seem to see him in danger, alone and without help. Could his disappearance be related to our actions tonight? Or is there a bigger conspiracy behind this? Is there some connection between Alex's disappearance and Raymond's trap? My thoughts are like a tangled mess, impossible to cut or sort out. I have to find Alex as soon as possible and make sure he is safe, but I can't act rashly, otherwise I will only alert the enemy. I need more intelligence and a more thorough plan. As the night deepened, I stood at the window, looking at the city lights, my heart filled with anxiety and uneasiness. Alex, where the hell are you? Are you safe? I clenched my fists tightly and prayed silently in my heart. I know that a bigger storm is coming, and I must be prepared to meet the challenge. It's been 3 days since Alex went missing. 3 days and no news. This is definitely not normal. I clenched the coffee cup in my hand. The scalding liquid could not dispel the chill in my heart. Alex is not the kind of person who would disappear without saying goodbye. The death omen he mentioned before, as well as the mysterious organization, make me feel that there is a bigger conspiracy behind this matter. Jack and Sophia agreed with me. Jack, my old partner, is always calm and rational, but at this moment his brows are tightly furrowed. We must find him as soon as possible, he said in a deep voice. I have a feeling that time is running out. Sophia, the information expert of our team, typed quickly on the keyboard, and various codes and data flashed on the screen. I'm trying to track Alex's cell phone signal, but there's no progress yet. There was a hint of anxiety in her tone. I took a deep breath and tried to calm myself down. Panic will not help. The most important thing now is to find a breakthrough. We re-examined all the investigative materials on Alex, from his daily schedule to his interpersonal relationships, trying to find any clues. Finally, an abandoned warehouse caught our attention. According to previous investigation records, Alex had been in contact with this warehouse many times, but we did not investigate further at the time. It now appears that this warehouse may very well be the key. I looked at Jack and Sophia. Let's go to the warehouse. They both nodded, with a determined gleam in their eyes. The abandoned warehouse is located on the edge of the city, in a desolate industrial area. The air was filled with a pungent smell of mold and rust, making people feel suffocated. The warehouse door was rusty and it was obvious that no one had been there for a long time. Jack pried the door open with a crowbar, making a sharp creaking sound. The interior of the warehouse was dark and damp, filled with all kinds of worn-out goods and debris, with dust flying in the air. We moved forward cautiously, using flashlights to illuminate the road ahead. I felt vaguely uneasy, as if something was watching us in the dark. In the corner of the warehouse, we found some strange symbols and fragments of documents. The symbols looked like some kind of ancient script that I had never seen before. Sophia picked up a fragment and examined it carefully. These symbols are very similar to the logo of that mysterious organization. There was a hint of surprise in her voice. My heart started beating faster. It seemed we were heading in the right direction. We continued searching and found some more fragments of documents. The fragments are incomplete, but mention an upcoming secret deal that appears to be related to human trafficking and money laundering. This gives me the chills. If Alex is really involved in something like this, he would be in a very dangerous situation. I looked around. The warehouse was quiet except for the breathing of the three of us. But for some reason I always felt that there was some movement around me, as if someone was watching us secretly. This feeling became stronger and stronger, making me feel creepy. I lowered my voice and said to Jack and Sophia, "Be careful, I feel like we're being targeted." They also became alert and tightened their weapons. The atmosphere in the warehouse suddenly became tense, and the air seemed to freeze. I tried to control my breathing and listened carefully to the movements around me, trying to find the location of the observer. Sweat seeped out of my palms, and an ominous premonition came over me. The gunshots, shouting, and the sound of metal colliding intertwined into a chaotic symphony. My heart was pounding, adrenaline coursing through my veins. Raymond's men are more numerous than I thought. They are coming in like a tide. It seems that we have underestimated how much he values us. I immediately realized that fighting hard was not the solution, and I had to buy time to find out Raymond's intentions. I believe in Jack and Sophia's abilities, but two fists cannot beat four hands, so we must fight quickly and decisively. So I focused my attention, activated the sight-evoking emotions function, and placed my palm against the cold metal wall. The history of the warehouse replayed rapidly in my mind. My men were moving supplies, installing equipment, lying in ambush and waiting. I captured the patterns of their actions, their attack patterns, and even their nervous breathing. I quickly passed this information to Jack and Sophia. Two on the left. Get ready to outflank. The one on the right is holding a stun gun. Someone behind is going to shoot. My prediction bought them precious seconds, allowing them to react in advance. Jack's fighting skills were neat and tidy. Sophia's shooting was accurate and ruthless, and combined with my emotional inspiration from the scene, we actually managed to temporarily gain the upper hand, despite the huge disparity in numbers. However, the enemy's actions were surprisingly consistent, as if they were controlled by some force, without the slightest hesitation or fear. They are like puppets, mechanically executing preset programs. This made me feel uneasy, as Raymond was likely nearby, observing us, or even directing the battle. This thought sends chills down my spine. We are like rats in a cage, at the mercy of others. I have to find Raymond. Only then can I break the deadlock. So while I was fighting, I kept an eye on my surroundings, trying to find any clues. I noticed that the direction of the enemy's attack seemed to intentionally avoid a corner of the warehouse, where some miscellaneous items were piled up and looked inconspicuous. Could it be that Raymond was hiding there? During a brief respite, I whispered to Jack and Sophia, "Cover me. I'm going to take a look over there."
They immediately understood my intention, increased their firepower, and suppressed the enemy's attack.
I took advantage of the cover and rushed to the corner, my heart pounding, not knowing what was waiting for me. But I was greatly disappointed. There was no one there, only a few boxes of old machine parts. I felt a sense of frustration. Did I make a mistake in my judgment? Just then I noticed some pieces of paper scattered on the ground with those strange symbols drawn on them. I bent down to pick it up and looked at it carefully. The symbols were exactly the same as the fragments of documents we found in the safe. Suddenly a thought flashed through my mind. Could all this be a trap set by Raymond? What was his purpose in deliberately leaving these symbols and documents to lead us here? Alex Johnson's disappearance, the documents in the safe, the ambush in the abandoned warehouse, all these seemingly unrelated events. Is there a bigger conspiracy behind them? Although we repelled Raymond's men, there were no valuable clues in the warehouse, except those symbol fragments and some useless debris. An ominous premonition arose in my heart. This battle seemed to come too easily, like a carefully planned performance, and we were the audience of this performance, or even participants. Raymond's real target may not be us at all, but I held the crumpled fragment of the warehouse map in my hand, feeling like a stone was pressing on my heart. Raymond, that old fox, the information he provided was so easy to obtain that I had to suspect that this was a trap. But what if that secret deal was true? I looked at Jack and Sophia, and the expressions on their faces were as solemn as mine. "We must stop this deal," I said in a deep voice. "Only in this way can we find out who is behind this and what they are doing." Jack and Sophia both nodded in agreement. Raymond can't be trusted, but the clue to the transaction location may be true, and we need to take a gamble. We carefully analyzed the information we had. Raymond's sphere of influence, the particularity of the traded items, and the faintly visible signs on the map fragments. All clues point to one place: Black Reef Dock. It was a long-abandoned dock, remote and easily defended, perfect for shady transactions. "I'll be in charge of reconnaissance," I volunteered. "Sights and feelings can help me quickly understand the situation at the dock. Jack is good at blasting and close combat. I'll go and clear the guards and traps outside. Sophia is experienced and has strong command capabilities. I'll lead the support team to stand by in the rear and respond at any time. Nestle, the woman with the ability to tamper with memory, is the biggest variable. We must be prepared to face her again. If she shows up, we must concentrate on resisting her and not let her succeed," I reminded her. The three of us agreed on an emergency code. If anyone felt their memory was confused, they would use the code to alert the others immediately. As night fell, we sneaked into Black Reef Pier as planned. The area around the dock was brightly lit and heavily guarded, and Raymond had more men than we expected. I took a deep breath and touched the cold iron railing of the dock. The ability of being reminded of something by the sight was instantly activated, and I saw the enemy's patrol routes, the locations of sentries, and even the types of goods stored in the warehouse. "The east side is weakly defended. There's a vent you can get into," I whispered to Jack. Jack nodded and quickly and silently cleared out several traps along the way, creating a safe passage for us. We approached the transaction site cautiously, and there was a tense atmosphere in the air. Just then, Natalie showed up. She was like a ghost, standing silently in front of us, with a weird smile on her face. "Long time no see. she said lightly, with a dangerous gleam in her eyes. Alarm bells rang in my heart, and I immediately shouted out the predetermined code. Jack and Sophia also reacted instantly. The three of us stood back to back, forming a defensive formation and concentrating on resisting Natalie's mental attack. At the same time, Raymond's men also discovered us. Gunshots suddenly rang out, and the dock fell into chaos in an instant. While resisting Natalie's mental invasion, I touched the objects around me. Every wooden board and every iron pillar on the dock conveyed information to me. The enemy's position, the direction of movement, and even their actions in the next second. The smell of gunpowder had not yet dissipated, and the air was filled with a mixed smell of gunpowder and blood. I leaned against an overturned truck, gasping for breath. Jack and Sophia were also exhausted, but their faces were filled with the joy of victory. We did it. Although we didn't catch the old fox Raymond, this operation at least disrupted his plan, and also allowed us to obtain some important information about the mysterious organization. I looked through the seized documents, which recorded the specific transaction process, the code names and contact information of some key contacts, and even the location and time of their next transaction. This is a huge gain. It looks like we are getting closer to the truth, I said, with a hint of excitement in my tone. Sophia nodded and wiped the blood off the dagger.
Yeah, Raymond must be mad this time.
Jack sat down on the ground, took a few gulps from the kettle and said, "He'd better not mess with us again. I'll beat the crap out of him next time." I smiled, but felt vaguely uneasy. Raymond is not a man who gives up easily, and this failure will only make him crazier. He will definitely take revenge, and will be even more vicious. I must pass this information to headquarters as soon as possible so that they can be prepared. We have to leave here as soon as possible. I looked around. The dock was littered with containers and machinery. It was a mess. It's not safe here. At this moment, my ability to be moved by the sight of something suddenly kicked in. The scene before my eyes began to distort, and I seemed to see a glimpse of the future. Flames shot up into the sky and the dock was bombed into ruins. The huge explosion was deafening, and I felt a suffocating fear. I suddenly came to my senses, my heart beating violently. The scene just now, was it a premonition? Is it an illusion? I tried to calm myself down and observe my surroundings carefully. The equipment and containers at the dock. I suddenly realized that those seemingly ordinary equipment seemed to be connected to some unusual lines. I walked up to a container and took a closer look. Sure enough, in the corner of the container, I found a small device with flashing red lights and making regular beeping sounds. Time bomb. My breathing suddenly became rapid. How many of these bombs are there on the dock? How powerful are they? How much time do we have left? A series of questions came to my mind, making me feel dizzy. Jack and Sophia also noticed my abnormality and hurried over. "What's wrong, Aiden? You don't look well," Sophia asked with concern. I pointed at the small device, my voice trembling. Time bombs. There are time bombs everywhere. Jack and Sophia's faces turned pale instantly. They also realized the seriousness of the problem. I forced myself to calm down and started thinking of countermeasures. We must find all the bombs as quickly as possible and try to defuse them. But we knew nothing about the type of bomb, and any rash action might cause an explosion. Besides, we don't know when Raymond will send someone back, and we have to leave here before they get here. As time passed, I became more and more anxious. I felt like I was trapped in a giant trap, surrounded by deadly dangers, and with no way to escape. Sweat soaked my back, and my heart was pounding. Bomb. Damn it. When I told Jack and Sophia the news, the looks on their faces were as horrified as mine. We were trapped at the dock, surrounded by Raymond's men, and now there was a time bomb, which was simply adding insult to injury. I forced myself to calm down. Now is not the time to panic. We must find a solution. I took a deep breath, closed my eyes, concentrated, and activated my ability to be reminded of something. I touched the wooden crates on the dock, The cold metal railings, the rough ropes, trying to capture any fragment of memory related to the bomb. A blurry image flashed through my mind. A burly man wearing black gloves carefully placed a metal device in the corner of a dock warehouse, and then quickly left. Storehouse. What about the detonation time? I touched the lock on the warehouse door again, and another scene appeared. The man pressed the button on the timer, and the red numbers flashed. 2 hours. I opened my eyes suddenly. It was 10 o'clock in the evening, which meant that the bomb would explode at midnight. We have to get out of here within 2 hours or defuse the bomb. Warehouse. The bomb is in the warehouse, and it will explode at midnight, I said hurriedly to Jack and Sophia. Jack's face was serious. 2 hours. It may be too late to defuse the bomb. We have to find a way to evacuate. Sophia looked around and whispered, Raymond's men are guarding every exit. It's hard for us to break out. Indeed, forcing your way out would be tantamount to committing suicide. Raymond is not a fool. Since he set up an ambush, he must have made full preparations. We have to find another way. I quickly thought about various possibilities and analyzed the current situation. Raymond's target was me and the people we rescued, and he would definitely not let us go easily. I have a general understanding of the layout of the dock. The warehouse is located on the west side of the dock, and the exit is on the east side. Raymond's people are mainly concentrated near the exit. A bold idea emerged in my mind. Create chaos, attract the enemy's attention, and then take the opportunity to break through. Jack, go find some flammable materials and set a fire at the other end of the dock to create chaos and attract Raymond's attention, I ordered decisively. Although Jack is reckless, he has strong execution ability, and he is tall and strong, so he is not easy to be found. Sophia, come with me and protect the others. As soon as there is any movement from Jack's side, we will rush to the exit immediately. I turned to Sophia and said, Sophia is calm and collected, has accurate marksmanship, and is the best partner. Jack nodded and quickly disappeared into the night. I took a deep breath and stared nervously across the pier. A few minutes later, flames shot up into the sky and thick smoke billowed in the distance. Raymond's men were indeed attracted over there, and shouts and footsteps were heard from a distance. Now, I shouted, and rushed to the exit with Sophia and the rescued people. We ran all the way, avoiding sporadic enemies. However, when we ran to the exit, we found that Raymond had been waiting there for a long time. He brought a group of his men, blocking our way with a sinister smile on his face. Want to run? Not that easy. Raymond sneered and raised the gun in his hand. A fierce gun battle broke out again between the two sides. Bullets whizzed past, and flames flew everywhere. I was dodging bullets and looking for an opportunity to break out, feeling extremely anxious. Just then a thought suddenly flashed through my mind. The bomb. The speedboat escaping from the dock was bumping on the sea, and the salty and humid sea breeze was blowing on my face. I stared at the shrinking pier with mixed feelings. Raymond's sinister glare seemed to still burn into my back, but I knew this victory would only be short-lived. He is the kind of person who will never let go of a grudge. I must find Alex Johnson as soon as possible. Perhaps he can answer all the doubts in my mind, including the purpose of this mysterious organization and the connection between them and my abilities. More importantly, I had to figure out how to completely get rid of Raymond's threat and ensure the safety of my sister and me. I turned to look at Anna. She was curled up in the corner of the cabin, her face pale and her eyes empty. This experience was undoubtedly a nightmare for her. I held her hand gently, trying to give her some comfort, but she didn't respond at all and just stared blankly ahead. I sighed, feeling powerless. I judged that Raymond would not chase after me for the time being. After all, he still had many of his men at the dock who needed to deal with the aftermath, and he also had to weigh the consequences of completely breaking off relations with me. He was afraid of my abilities, especially my ability to be moved by the scene, which gave me a chance to catch my breath. However, I must recover my strength as quickly as possible in order to take the initiative in the next confrontation. Thinking of the scene that brought back sad memories, my head started to ache again. I sensed something was wrong with the ability after using it too often and with too much intensity at the dock. When I used this ability before, I could clearly feel the target person's mental activities, as if I was there myself. But now, those images have become blurry and fragmented, like old movie reels, intermittent, and even mixed with some memory fragments that do not belong to the target person. I tried to concentrate again, touching the watch on my wrist, trying to recall what I had just experienced on the dock, but a chaotic scene emerged in my mind. Burning flames, distorted faces, and a strange woman. She stared at me sadly. Who is this woman? Why do her memories appear in my mind? Could it be that there is something wrong with my ability, and I have started to read the memories of irrelevant people? This uncertainty makes me feel deeply uneasy. If my abilities get out of control, I won't be able to tell which memories are real and which are false, and I might even get lost in the vortex of other people's memories and never find my true self again. I shook my head vigorously, trying to get rid of these messy thoughts. I had to stay calm and not be consumed by fear. I needed to find a safe place, rest up, and figure out what had happened to my abilities. As the sun sets, the sea sparkles and the sky in the distance is dyed blood red, as if foreshadowing the coming storm. As I looked at this magnificent yet strange scenery, a strong premonition surged in my heart. The loss of control of my abilities was only the beginning. A greater crisis was waiting for me, and I had no idea what was about to happen. My hand unconsciously touched my chest. There, in addition to the beating of my heart, there seemed to be some unknown force stirring, like a butterfly about to break out of its cocoon, or like a beast about to wake up, making me both excited and fearful. The roar of the bomb was still echoing in my ears, and I touched my chest, my heart still beating wildly. The feeling of relief at having escaped danger was quickly replaced by deeper anxiety. The ability to be reminded of something by seeing something is sometimes effective and sometimes not. Like a time bomb buried in my body, Raymond won't give up. Alex Johnson is still missing, and the core secrets of the mysterious organization are still shrouded in mystery. I feel like a prey trapped in the center of a spider web, and every step I take may lead to a deadly trap. I have to solve the problem of out-of-control abilities first. Jack and Sophia also understand the priorities. We returned to the safe house, spread out all the information, and carefully reviewed every investigation process, from the laboratory to the dock. I repeatedly recalled the details of each time I was reminded of an emotion, trying to find the pattern behind it. Jack lit a cigarette, frowning. Aiden, have you noticed that the times when your abilities fluctuated the most were all related to the mysterious organization behind Raymond? His words woke me up. Indeed, my powers nearly went haywire when I touched Alex Johnson's computer in the lab, and they also fluctuated wildly when I faced Raymond at the dock. Could it be that the mysterious organization has some method that can affect my abilities? The thought gives me chills. If that's the case, Sophia said solemnly, then we have to figure out how they did it. Only then can we find a solution. We all agreed that starting with the people around Raymond was the most feasible option at the moment. Only by knowing yourself and your enemy can you win every battle. We began to carefully analyze each of Raymond's men, trying to find anything suspicious. Frank Miller, Jack pointed to a name and said, "This guy's recent whereabouts are very strange. He frequently goes to some high-end places and meets with different people every time." Frank Miller, Raymond's right-hand man, is responsible for intelligence gathering and liaison work. He acts cautiously and rarely reveals his true colors. Jack's discovery touched my heart, and my intuition told me that Frank Miller must be hiding some secret. I decided to take a chance. Jack used his channels to get hold of a pen that Frank Miller had recently come into contact with. I took a deep breath, told myself to stay calm, and then held the pen. A strange stream of memory fragments flooded into my mind, blurry and intermittent, like an old silent film. I saw Frank Miller reporting to a man whose face he couldn't see clearly in a dim room. He mentioned my name, and some code names I had never heard of. Then I saw some documents with my photo and some scattered information about my past. Raymond, identity, threat. I tried hard to piece together the fragments, and a terrible guess gradually emerged in my mind. Raymond seemed to have determined my possible true identity through these memory fragments, and this identity would pose a huge threat to his position and even the entire mysterious organization. I opened my eyes suddenly, and my clothes were soaked with cold sweat. I must find out as soon as possible what this identity is, and what the connection is between it and the mysterious organization. As we analyzed these clues in depth and tried to restore the truth, an inexplicable feeling of uneasiness enveloped me. I felt like someone was watching us secretly, with a pair of eyes closely following our every move. The sound of gunfire was still ringing in my ears, and the smell of gunpowder was pungent and unpleasant. My chest heaved violently, and the adrenaline kept me on high alert. Frank Miller's sudden attack confirmed my suspicions. Raymond was definitely covering up something, and he was afraid that we would discover the truth. Frank is his minion, responsible for clearing obstacles, and we are now the obstacles in his eyes. I quickly glanced at Jack and Sophia. Jack's left arm was scratched during the fight, and blood soaked his sleeve, but he still held the weapon tightly in his hand with a firm look in his eyes. Sophia was calmer, quickly checking her ammunition and marking our current position and possible escape routes on a map. They are all trustworthy partners, and in times of crisis, we rely on each other and support each other. I know we have to get out of here now and as soon as possible. Frank Miller has suffered a loss and will definitely make a comeback, and his next attack will be even more fierce. More importantly, this conflict is likely to completely infuriate Raymond, and his next move will become even more unpredictable. I have to think about how to deal with various situations that may happen next. We need to go, I said in a low voice, looking around for cover to hide in. Frank will be back soon with more men. Jack and Sophia both nodded in agreement. We quickly evacuated the scene and sneaked into a secluded alley along the route planned by Sophia. In relative safety, we briefly treated Jack's wounds. I noticed that Sophia's brows were furrowed while she was bandaging the wound, and she seemed to be thinking about something. "What's wrong?" I asked. Sophia raised her head with a hint of worry in her eyes. "Aiden, have you ever thought Raymond is so afraid of our investigation? Could it be because this matter is related to you?" Her question gave me a shock. I have been pursuing the truth, but I never thought that the truth might be hidden in myself. I tried hard to remember the past, but came up blank. My past seems to be shrouded in a layer of fog, which is invisible and intangible. I don't know. I shook my head, with a hint of helplessness in my tone. My memory is blank. I don't even know who I am. My answer made the atmosphere even more solemn. Jack patted my shoulder and said soothingly, "Don't worry, Aiden. We will help you find the answer." I know Jack really wants to help me, but at this moment I am filled with confusion and anxiety. Raymond's fear, Frank Miller's attack, and my lost memory. There seems to be some connection between all of this, and I am the key to connecting these dots. I began to wonder, if my identity really was the key to all the mysteries, then what was Raymond afraid of? What is he afraid of me knowing? What secrets are hidden in my past? Could my ability to be evoked by something emotionally connected to something else also be related to my identity? These questions flooded into my mind like a tide, giving me a splitting headache. I realized that I had to figure out my true identity, not only to solve the mystery, but also to protect myself and my partners. Just then, the sound of sirens was heard in the distance, getting closer and closer.
Frank Miller called the police.
We have to move again. Damn it, Jack cursed. I took a deep breath and tried to calm myself down. The sirens, Frank Miller's pursuit, Raymond's conspiracy, and my unknown identity. All these pressures are weighing on my shoulders, making me breathless, on the way to escape. Sophia's question kept popping up in my mind. Does this matter have anything to do with you? I looked at my hands. They were covered in dust and blood, yet they felt so foreign. My identity is like a huge mystery waiting for me to solve. And I have a feeling that once I uncover the answer to this mystery, it will completely change everything. Victor Lee's words kept echoing in my mind. The sealed memories, the mysterious background, all of these were like a tangled mess tightly entangled with me. I realized that the key to all of this might lie in who I really am. I had to figure out who I was and what happened to my family. Jack and Sophia always stand by me. They are my support and the people I trust the most at this moment. I told them my idea, and Jack, using his connections in the police department, began researching my family history, while Sophia sorted out the clues we already had. We have to race against time, because Raymond's threat is always like a sword hanging over our heads. A few days later, Jack came back with news. A man named Edward Blake might be related to my family. According to some old archive records, the Black family once had close contacts with my family. This person might know something. We immediately set off for the remote town where Edward Blake lived. Edward Blake lived in a slightly old house, and it was obvious that he led a reclusive life. I took a deep breath and told myself that I had to stay calm. I needed to get the information I wanted from him. I told him my identity and explained my purpose. At first, Edward Blake seemed very hesitant, and he seemed reluctant to talk about the past. I guess he was afraid of getting into trouble. After all, my family had a history with gangs. I assured him that I just wanted to know the truth and would not implicate him. After my repeated insistence, he finally spoke. He told me that my family was once a very influential family, but it gradually declined because it was involved in a fight with the gang. He told me some stories about his family's past, but I could sense that he was holding back, that he must know more than he was saying. I tried to find clues in his words and tried to piece together the complete history of my family. Although Edward Blake's information was incomplete, he mentioned one very important thing. Raymond's Carroll family and my family once had a feud. This shocked me. Could it be that Raymond was so obsessed with my identity because of this grudge? What is my identity that Raymond is trying so hard to track down? I felt like I was getting closer to the truth, but at the same time I also felt a greater danger. Just as I was trying to digest the information provided by Edward Blake, Sophia suddenly whispered, "Oh no, we are surrounded." My heart sank suddenly. Through the window, I saw several black cars parked outside the house. A group of men in black got out of the cars. They had weapons in their hands and were quickly surrounding us. "It's Raymond's men. How did they find this place so quickly?" I realized we had to find a way to get out immediately. I looked around, my eyes sweeping over every object in the room. An old wooden table, a rickety chair, a dusty fireplace, a faded painting on the wall. My ability to be moved by the sight became particularly important at this moment. If I could touch these historical objects, perhaps I could get some key information from them to help us escape from danger. The sound of gunfire gradually faded away, and the whistling wind replaced the deafening sound of explosions. I held onto the wall, gasping for breath, my lungs burning. Sweat blurred my vision. I wiped my face and touched the scratch on my forehead, which caused a sharp pain. Damn, I still got injured when breaking out. Things aren't going well for Jack and Sophia either. Jack's left arm was grazed by a bullet, and Sophia's face was pale, obviously from overexertion. The three of us hid in the shadows of an abandoned warehouse, and were safe for the time being. I have to clear my mind quickly. The information Edward Blake gave was too little, only that his family was related to the key to eternal life, and nothing else was known. Raymond was a shrewd man. Since he had set up an ambush, He must have had a backup plan. Although this breakout was successful, it also exposed our intentions. Raymond will definitely strengthen his defenses and even take the initiative to attack. I touched the cold walls of the warehouse, trying to gather some useful information. Some fragmentary images flashed through my mind. Trucks loading and unloading, workers carrying goods. It seems that this place used to be a logistics transit station. It's useless. This information is of no help to our current situation. I looked at Jack and Sophia again. Jack's loyalty is unquestionable. He has been my partner for many years and has been through countless life and death situations. Although Sophia was sent by the Black family, judging from her cooperation this time, she is trustworthy. At least, when facing a common enemy, we are on the same front. The most critical question now is, what should we do next? Continue to search for the key to eternal life? Or should we stay out of the spotlight and wait until we gather more intelligence before taking action? Aiden, what should we do now? Jack's voice broke the silence. He bandaged the wound and looked at me worriedly. I pondered for a moment. We can't just sit there and wait for death. Raymond knows we are looking for the key to eternal life, and he will definitely not let us go. Instead of passively defending, we should take the initiative. Take the initiative? We know nothing about Raymond's plan right now, and it's too dangerous to act rashly. Sophia objected. I know, I nodded. But we can't just do nothing. Raymond's goal is the key to eternal life, and so are we. Rather than being led by him by the nose, we might as well get ahead and find the key clues. I need a breakthrough, a chance for us to turn defeat into victory. I closed my eyes and tried to recall what Edward Blake said before he died. He mentioned a place name intermittently, a vague place name that seemed to be deliberately hidden. I opened my eyes suddenly, and a place name flashed through my mind. Oak Forest. I immediately caught this inspiration. Oak Forest.
Edward Blake must be trying to tell me something.
Oak Forest, I muttered to myself. Jack and Sophia looked at me in confusion. Oak Grove. What is that? I took a deep breath, and a strong premonition came over me. The Oak Forest may be the key to solving all mysteries. This is a place that may contain important clues. I looked at them with a firm tone. We must go there and take a look. I have a feeling that in Oak Forest we will face greater challenges and uncover more hidden secrets. And all this will begin when we step into that mysterious forest. After breaking out, we hid in an abandoned warehouse. The air smelled musty and dusty, but it was better than Raymond's clutches. Jack, Sophia, and I sat together, all looking unhappy. What should we do now? Jack was the first to break the silence. Raymond is too powerful. We can't fight him head on. I took a deep breath and tried to calm myself down. Raymond's mother, Helen Carroll, might know something. I analyzed. She is someone who has experienced all those grievances back then, and she should know more about my identity. Sophia nodded in agreement. But how can we get in touch with her? She must be well protected by Raymond. We fell into deep thought. Helen Carroll, a mysterious woman. Could she be the key to unlocking the mystery of my life? Jack suddenly thought of something. I heard that Helen Carroll went to St. Mary's Church every week to worship. Maybe this is an opportunity. In a church, where there are many people and eyes, it is easier to hide. I immediately thought this was a viable solution. Okay, let's do this. Jack, go investigate the layout of the church and Helen Carroll's habits. Sophia, prepare some camouflage tools. I want to make sure everything goes well. In the next few days, we split up and carefully prepared for the operation. I thought over and over how to approach Helen Carroll in a way that would convince her of my sincerity without arousing suspicion. Would she be as hostile to me as Raymond was? This makes me uneasy. But in order to find out my own origins, I had to take a risk. On the day of the operation, we wore ordinary clothes and tried our best to blend into the crowd. I took a deep breath and told myself to stay calm and composed. Jack had scouted the route in advance and found a small path at the back door of the church that could avoid most of the guards. We sneaked into the church along the path, and the sound of our heartbeats was particularly clear in the silent corridor. Based on the information Jack provided, I found Helen Carroll. She sat alone by the window, holding a Bible in her hands, her expression calm and solemn. I hesitated for a moment, but still walked over. "Hello, Mrs. Carroll." I tried to make my tone sound calm. She raised her head, her eyes full of vigilance. "Who are you? What's the matter?" "My name is Aidan, and I want to ask you something about my own life experience," I said straight to the point, looking at her sincerely. Helen Carroll was obviously touched by my words. She looked me up and down, with a complex emotion flashing in her eyes. "My son has told me that you will come to me. He said you are a dangerous man." My heart sank. It seemed Raymond was on guard. I tried to stay calm. "Mr. Raymond has misunderstood me. I just want to know the truth." Helen Carroll was silent for a moment, as if weighing something. Finally, she sighed. "Well, kid, what do you want to know?" A glimmer of hope ignited in my heart, and just as I was about to speak, the church door was suddenly kicked open. Raymond rushed in with a team of fully armed guards staring at me fiercely. "I knew you would come here," Raymond roared. The atmosphere suddenly became tense and the air was filled with gunpowder. "Protect Mrs. Carroll." Raymond gave an order, and the guards immediately surrounded us. A fierce fight broke out in the church. Jack and Sophia fought hard and covered my retreat. I dodged the attacks while trying to find a breakthrough. The furnishings, icons and pews in the church stood out amid the chaos. My hand accidentally touched a cold stone statue, and a strange feeling came over me. The smell of gunpowder in the church had not yet dissipated, and the air was filled with tension and anxiety. My head was still buzzing, and the after effects of the visual reminder made me feel like I had been hit by a sledgehammer. I held onto the cold stone pillar, trying to keep myself awake. Raymond escaped, but his plot was uncovered, and he was safe, at least for the time being. I glanced around and saw Joyce and others were treating the wounded. They looked at me with confusion, worry, and a hint of awe. Maybe it was because of my performance just now, or maybe it was because of my identity as possibly Raymond's younger brother. I have to clear my mind. First of all, why did Raymond want to frame me? Is it just because my abilities pose a threat to him? If I were his brother, would there be a deeper reason? He is so determined to get rid of me. Is he afraid that my existence will reveal more of his secrets? Secondly, can Helen Carroll's words be trusted? Why did she know this secret? Does she really want to help me? Or does she have other motives? I am still wary of her. In this world full of lies and deception, I have to be careful. Finally, and most importantly, should I reveal my identity? If I were Raymond's brother, this would undoubtedly be a bombshell, enough to overturn the course of the entire case. But this will also put me in the spotlight and make me the target of public criticism. Raymond's power is intertwined and complex. Can I withstand the pressure and danger that comes with it? I took a deep breath and tried to calm myself down. Now is not the best time to reveal your identity. I need more evidence and more power to fight Raymond. I walked over to Joyce and she asked me with concern, "Aidan, are you okay?" I forced a smile. "It's okay, just a little tired." "Your ability..." She hesitated, her eyes full of worry. I know what she is worried about. My ability to be reminded of something I have experienced has become increasingly unstable, like a double-edged sword that can both help me and hurt me. I have to find a way to control it, or it will backfire on me sooner or later. "I'll find a way," I whispered. Over the next few days, I tried to avoid using touching memories and allow my body and mind to recover. At the same time, I also began to secretly investigate Raymond's background and the possible connection between him and me. I read a lot of information and interviewed many people who knew the situation, but gained little. Raymond is like a ghost. His past is shrouded in a fog and elusive. I felt unprecedented pressure, as if an invisible net was closing in on me. I must find a breakthrough as soon as possible, otherwise I will be trapped in this puzzle forever. Late one night, I was sitting alone on the church bell tower, looking up at the starry sky. The moonlight shines on my face, bringing a hint of coolness. I suddenly remembered that when I was a child, my mother often pointed to the brightest star in the night sky and told me that it was my guardian star. "Where are you, Mother?" I whispered. "Can you tell me who I am?" My hand unconsciously stroked the cold clock wall, and a familiar energy surged into my body. My ability to be reminded of something was activated again, and a vague fragment of memory appeared in my mind. A woman was holding a baby tenderly, humming an ancient ballad. Is this my mother? Is this baby me? My heartbeat suddenly quickened, and an inexplicable premonition came over me. I know I am getting closer to the truth, and this truth may be more cruel than I imagined. The sound of gunfire from the church is still ringing in my ears, and the smell of gunpowder in the air seems to be lingering. Raymond, my brother, if this guess is true, then my current situation is 100 times more dangerous than being in a hail of bullets. He will definitely increase his efforts against you, Aiden. Jack's tone was serious, pointing out my concerns directly. After the church incident, we were hiding in an abandoned warehouse, and Sophia was tending to a scrape on my arm. I rubbed my temples, trying to calm myself down and analyze. Jack is right. The two most important things now are to confirm whether I am really Raymond's brother and to find a way to fight him. Otherwise, we will all become his targets. Sophia put down the medicine box in her hand. Helen Carroll, she is the only one who knows the truth. We must go again. I nodded, but I felt a little uneasy. The last time I visited Helen Carroll, it was clear to me that she was hiding something. Will she really tell me everything this time? Besides, could it be possible that Raymond had already sent someone to monitor her? We can't go directly like we did last time. Jack seemed to see my concerns. We have to avoid all possible surveillance and take a small path. It's best to do it late at night. We made a detailed plan. At 2 o'clock in the morning, we would take a detour from the abandoned factory on the outskirts of the city, through the woods, and finally arrive at Helen Carroll's residence. This will minimize the chance of getting out of Raymond's sight. The cold wind at midnight scraped across my cheeks like a knife. The three of us walked cautiously in the woods in the faint moonlight. I kept reminding myself to stay alert, as any movement could indicate danger. Finally, we arrived at Helen Carroll's residence. It was quiet all around, with only the occasional barking of dogs in the distance. I took a deep breath and knocked on the door gently. Helen Carroll opened the door and saw us. A flash of surprise crossed her face, but was quickly replaced by worry. "Why are you here again?" "It's dangerous here." I looked her straight in the eyes and said sincerely, "Mrs. Carroll, I must know the truth. Who am I? Who are my parents? Please tell me." Helen Carroll hesitated for a moment, finally sighed, and seemed to have made up her mind. "Well, come in and I'll tell you everything." She was about to speak when suddenly, there was a sound of hurried footsteps outside the house, followed by several rough shouts. "Frank Miller, under the orders of Mr. Raymond, search this place." My heart sank suddenly. Raymond came after all. "Hurry, go out the back door," Helen Carroll shouted anxiously. Without giving it any thought, we rushed to the back door, but Frank Miller and his men had already surrounded the house. "It looks like you've fallen into a trap." Frank Miller grinned and raised the gun in his hand. The sounds of gunfire and shouting mixed together, and a fierce battle broke out in an instant. I concentrated my mind and used my ability of evoking emotions through sight to sense the positions and actions of the enemies around me. "Jack, left. Sophia, cover me." I shouted commands while dodging bullets and looking for opportunities to counterattack. During the battle, my hand accidentally touched an old wooden box placed in the corner. A strong electric current instantly spread throughout my body, and a blurry picture flashed before my eyes. A man, a woman, and a little boy. Is this my memory? Bullets whizzed past my ears, and the smell of gunpowder almost suffocated me. The battle just now was so chaotic that I didn't even have time to think about it before my body reacted instinctively. Now that we are safe for now, hiding in the shadows of an abandoned warehouse, I have a chance to examine my chaotic thoughts. I clutched tightly the old pocket watch I had received from Helen Carroll, which had once belonged to my mother.
The family emblem engraved on the back of the pocket watch completely matches the column belonging to the missing youngest son on the huge family tree in my father's study in my fragmented memory.
I finally became convinced that I was Raymond Carroll's half-brother, the Aidan Carroll he had always thought was dead. The act of revealing one's identity is a gamble. I judge that Raymond's subordinates are not a united group. Some of them follow Raymond just for profit, not loyalty. Give them a stronger reason, and they might switch sides. Facts proved that my judgment was correct. The greed and suspicion in the eyes of some people replaced the murderous intent, giving us a chance to break through. But Helen Carroll's performance made me doubtful. Her hesitation in handing over the documents and the flicker in her eyes suggested that she was hiding something. I speculated that she might know more about the truth behind my disappearance and might even have been involved. Why should she help me? What is her ultimate goal? These questions are like poisonous snakes lingering in my mind, making me unable to feel at ease. The most pressing issue now is Raymond's response. He has always claimed that I died in an accident. If my identity were to be exposed, it would undoubtedly shake his position in the gang and even cause internal strife. With his suspicious and cruel character, he will stop at nothing to cover up the truth, even targeting people around me. I must be fully prepared before he takes action. We have to find a safe place, I said to my companions. Raymond will soon know we are here. I thought, we can't just sit there and wait for death. We must take the initiative and seize the opportunity. Perhaps I could exploit Raymond's weakness. He desperately wanted to be recognized by his family, which was why he went to such great lengths to erase my existence. Let's go find Lawyer Williams, I decided. He is the family's legal advisor. He knows all the family secrets and may be able to prove my identity. Williams is an upright man and is loyal to the Carroll family, not Raymond personally. If we can get his support, perhaps we can change the current situation. However, Williams is cautious and will not trust anyone easily. I have to find more compelling evidence to convince him. I remembered that among the files Helen Carroll gave me was a record of a family trust fund, with my father's signature on it, and perhaps that was the key. We quietly left the warehouse. The night of the city enveloped us like a huge net, waiting for prey to fall into it. I know the real battle has just begun. Raymond's power is intertwined, and my identity being exposed is like a stone thrown into a calm lake, which is about to create huge waves. And I must find my own place in this wave and uncover all the secrets hidden behind the family. The night wind blows, bringing a hint of coolness and a hint of uneasiness. I felt an oppressive sense of impending storm, and the air seemed to be filled with the smell of gunpowder. The sound of sirens in the distance cut through the night sky like some kind of omen foreshadowing the coming storm. Sweat soaked my shirt, but I tried hard to keep smiling and clinked glasses with the fat-faced guy in front of me. The sourness of the champagne spread in my mouth, just like the taste in my heart at this moment. Raymond's private party was extremely luxurious, but also full of dangers. My identity, the family's abandoned child, Aidan Moretti, has been exposed. I have to stay calm. Jack and Sophia are outside, and our plan is to take advantage of the chaos caused by the exposure of our identities, go deep into the tiger's den, and get evidence of Raymond's human trafficking and money laundering. I judge that Raymond's men must be in a panic at this moment. Some people will be hostile to me, the young master who suddenly appeared, while others may be shaken by Raymond's previous brutal rule, and even yearn for a new order. This is our chance. Master Aidan, I've long heard of your name. The burly man in front of me was named Victor. I remember that he was one of Raymond's right-hand men, and was said to be ruthless. I have to be careful with this.
Mr. Victor, you're welcome. I raised my glass. I just came back to take a look.
I observed his eyes, trying to catch any flaws. His eyes flickered, as if he was evaluating my words, but also as if he was hiding something. Mr. Raymond will be very happy that the young master is back, Victor said with a forced smile. I knew that he was full of suspicion and even hostility towards me. I must stay away from people like this. I was just thinking about how to get out when suddenly there was a commotion on the other side of the hall. My heart tightened, and an ominous premonition came over me. Aiden Moretti. Raymond's voice rang out in the noisy hall like thunder. Damn it. He found me. I immediately decided that now was not the time for a head-on confrontation. Frank Miller, Raymond's personal bodyguard, was approaching me with several of his men. Miller, ruthless and skilled. I must avoid him. I took a deep breath and activated my ability, being moved by the scene. I quickly glanced around and locked my eyes on a couple in the middle of the dance floor. They were immersed in the sweetness of love, with only each other in their eyes. I focused my mind, amplified their emotions, and projected them onto the people around me. In an instant, a strong romantic atmosphere filled the hall. The originally tense atmosphere also eased. Miller's men were obviously affected. Their steps hesitated and their eyes became blurred. I took the opportunity to dodge Miller's capture, and the chaos in the crowd gave me excellent cover. I saw Victor and another of his men arguing over a trivial matter, and they even started pushing each other. My ability caused internal strife among them. I have to seize this opportunity. Amid the chaos, I caught a glimpse of an unremarkable room with a glimmer of light coming through the half-open door. My intuition tells me that there must be some secret hidden there. I crouched down and quickly made my way through the chaotic crowd toward the room. My heart was racing, adrenaline was pumping. I knew that I was getting closer to the truth, but also closer to greater danger. The room door didn't lock. I gently pushed the door open, and a musty smell hit my nose. In the dim light, I saw that the room was filled with cardboard boxes. I opened one at random, and it was full of account books. I flipped through it quickly and found that it contained records of Raymond's human trafficking and money laundering transactions. I have to get these ledgers out. Outside, the shouting and fighting became more intense. I know I have to get out of here as soon as possible. I clutched the account book tightly, my heart still pounding. It was easier to escape than I thought. Maybe Raymond was still busy dealing with the internal chaos and had no time to care about me, a slippery fish. I ducked into a 24-hour convenience store, ordered a cup of coffee, and tried to calm myself down. The situation is very delicate now. I have to judge which ones really want to defect, and which ones are bait sent by Raymond. I repeatedly recalled the men who contacted me secretly, their eyes, tone, and wording. One of them was a guy named Victor. I was quite impressed by him. He was previously in charge of the smuggling business at the dock. He was a cautious person, not as arrogant and domineering as the others. Moreover, his way of contacting me was more secretive, leaving a message in an abandoned public telephone booth, instead of directly using his mobile phone. This at least shows that he is more careful than others, and takes his own safety more seriously. Someone who wants to get promoted will not be so cautious. I decided to test Victor first. I called the number he left from a payphone, and all I said was, "Gear received," and then hung up. This was the code we had agreed upon before. If he was really Raymond's man, this sentence would be enough to make him understand my situation, and then he would take action. If he really wanted to cooperate, he would understand what I meant and know that I was testing him. I spent the next day in a state of extreme tension, constantly changing my hiding places and observing whether there were any suspicious people around. I felt like a rabbit being targeted by a cheetah and could be caught at any time. Fortunately, Victor did not show up and nothing unusual happened. In the evening, I called Victor again. "It's me, Aiden. I got straight to the point. There was silence on the other end of the phone for a few seconds. And then Victor's low voice came. I know you are cautious, which is a good thing. I breathed a sigh of relief. It seemed my judgment was correct. I got the account book, but only part of it. I know, Victor said, that Raymond has locked the most important part in his safe, and only he knows the combination. This is consistent with my guess that Raymond will not easily reveal all his cards. How's the situation over there? I asked. Many people are dissatisfied with Raymond's crazy behavior, Victor said. His recent business has become more and more risky, and he has suffered heavy losses. But he puts all the responsibility on us. The brothers all feel that they will be doomed sooner or later, if they follow him. I thought about what Victor said. His description was logical and consistent with my previous observations of Raymond. Raymond's ambitions grew, and his actions became more and more reckless, which was bound to cause internal resistance. What do you want to do? I asked. We need to get the complete account books and bring down Raymond. Victor's tone was firm. I know it won't be easy, but it's our only chance. I began to discuss the specific plan with Victor. How to get the core evidence in Raymond's safe and how to disintegrate his power. We agreed to contact each other again tomorrow night to discuss the details. After I hung up the phone, I felt a glimmer of hope, but also more uneasy. Raymond is no fool. He will soon discover that the ledger is missing, and realize that I am not dead. Given his character, he would stop at nothing to find me, take back the account books, and eliminate all those who betrayed him. As night falls, the city is shrouded in a hazy light. I found a cheap hotel and prepared to take a rest. Suddenly, a breaking news was broadcast on TV. A cargo ship exploded at the dock, and the scene was in a mess. That was the dock that Victor was in charge of. My heart sank suddenly, and an ominous premonition came over me. I realized that Raymond had already begun to act and was more crazy and cruel than I had imagined. This storm was more violent than I expected. Sweat soaked my collar, and my heart was pounding like a drum. The moment Raymond activated the self-destruct device, I seemed to hear the sound of my own hopes being shattered. All evidence, all efforts, will vanish in that dazzling light. No, I absolutely cannot let this happen. I immediately told Jack and Sophia the terrible news. Their faces were solemn, and they obviously realized the seriousness of the situation. He must be stopped, Jack growled. Sophia quickly began to analyze the situation. Since Raymond has activated the self-destruct device, it means he is ready to fight to the death. He must be on high alert now. We must find a way to distract him. My eyes fell on the cold metal devices around me. My ability to be reminded of something emotional might help. I took a deep breath, forced myself to calm down, and reached out to touch the metal plate closest to me. The cold touch was accompanied by fragments of memory that flooded into his mind. Complex circuit diagrams, flashing indicator lights, and Raymond's focused expression as he debugged the device. I'm trying to piece the pieces together, trying to find a glimmer of hope. More memory fragments emerged, and I saw a red button hidden at the bottom of the device, the backup release switch. It was designed to be so hidden that it was obviously set up by Raymond to prevent accidents. But this is the only hope for us. I immediately told Jack and Sophia about this discovery. Great, Jack clenched his fists excitedly. I'll attract Raymond's attention. Sophia will cover him. Aiden, go and release the switch. I knew this plan was extremely dangerous. Raymond and his remaining men were well-trained desperados, and any one of us could pay with our lives. But I have no choice. This is our only hope. Remember, I looked at Jack and Sophia. Be careful. We have to get back alive. The action has begun. Jack roared, rushed out first, and fired a volley of bullets in the direction of Raymond. Sophia followed closely behind, suppressing the enemy's firepower with accurate shooting. The sound of gunfire, explosions, and Raymond's angry roars intertwined to form a chaotic symphony. I took advantage of the chaos, crouched down, and moved quickly to the bottom of the device. Fragments of memories I had seen before kept emerging in my mind, guiding me in the direction I should go. "Frank Miller, stop him." Raymond noticed my intention and roared the order. I was startled. Frank Miller, Raymond's most capable assistant, was known for his ruthlessness. I didn't dare to be careless. I concentrated my mind and reached out to touch the wall next to me. Scenes of Frank Miller's battles flooded into my mind. His fierce attacks, tricky angles, and his usual tactics. Frank Miller's figure appeared in my sight and he pounced towards me with a grin. I was prepared. I dodged his attack by moving sideways and at the same time swept my leg to trip him to the ground. He quickly got up and attacked me again. I used my ability of evoking emotions through scenes to constantly predict his movements, cleverly dodge his attacks, and seize opportunities to counterattack. Time passed by, my strength was rapidly decreasing, and the backup release switch was right in front of me. When the button to disable the device was pressed, the shrill alarm stopped abruptly, replaced by an unsettling silence. I breathed a sigh of relief, my heart still pounding. We did it! This not only preserves the evidence, but also saves countless innocent lives that might have been abducted. I glanced at Raymond, who was subdued by his men. His face was full of despair and anger, like a trapped beast. I don't pity him. It's his own fault that such a scumbag ended up like this. At this moment, I looked around and saw Evelyn and others were also celebrating their survival. But my instinct told me that it was far from over. Raymond set up the self-destruct device so deliberately, it is impossible that he did not have a backup plan. I began to carefully examine the control panel, trying to find anything unusual. Just then I noticed an indicator light on the control panel flashing a faint red light. This light had never been on before. I immediately realized that this might be the hidden alarm system that was triggered when the self-destruct device was disarmed. My heart sank. What on earth was this? What will it bring? Is it the police or other men of Raymond's? Or is it something more terrifying than these? I quickly thought about how to deal with it. First, I had to figure out what exactly this alarm system was, and what it was connected to. I turned to Evelyn and said, "Evelyn, check all the lines and systems to see what this alarm is connected to." Evelyn nodded and took action immediately. I believe in her abilities, and she is the best technical expert on our team. At the same time, I had to prepare for the worst. I looked around, assessing our situation. This basement has only one exit, and if the alarm attracts a large number of enemies, we can easily be trapped here. I walked to the exit and carefully checked the door lock and the surrounding environment to determine if there were any usable cover and escape routes. "Aiden, I found it." Evelyn's voice interrupted my thoughts. She pointed to a wiring diagram on the control panel and said, "This alarm system is connected to a satellite communication device. The signal has been sent." Satellite communications. This means that the alert has been sent to some unknown location. My heart sank suddenly, and my premonition grew stronger and stronger. These were definitely not just the police or Raymond's reinforcements. Raymond is engaged in human trafficking and money laundering, and there may be a larger force behind him. This alarm may have notified them. I have to make a decision quickly. We can't just sit there and wait for death. We must find a way to leave here before the enemy arrives. I quickly analyzed the current situation. We have limited manpower and insufficient firepower to fight against an unknown powerful force. A head-on confrontation is obviously not a wise move. I looked at Evelyn and the other team members, and they all had nervous and uneasy expressions on their faces. I know they also feel the danger approaching. I took a deep breath, trying to stay calm, and said, "Evelyn, can you trace where the signal is coming from?" Evelyn shook her head. "The signal is encrypted. I can't track it." This is undoubtedly bad news. I gritted my teeth and quickly weighed the pros and cons in my mind. The situation is that we have no idea of the impending dangers or when they will arrive. Staying here is like catching a turtle in a jar. We have to get out of here, I said decisively. Now. I led my team to quickly evacuate the basement. We followed the escape route we had scouted in advance and quickly disappeared into the night. After leaving the basement, I didn't feel relieved, but more alert. I knew the real danger had just begun. That hidden alarm system is like a time bomb hanging in my heart, and I don't know when it will explode. My palms are sweaty. This damn alarm system is much more than just an anti-theft system. It is like a thorn in my heart, making me feel uneasy. Jack and Sophia also looked solemn. The three of us sat around the table, the atmosphere as depressing as the calm before the storm. Why did Raymond install such a hidden alarm? Sophia broke the silence, and the triggering conditions are so harsh. If Aiden hadn't accidentally hit it. She didn't finish, but I knew what she meant. This alarm system is more like a system for insiders to prevent anyone from touching something that should not be touched. This makes me even more convinced that this stronghold hides a bigger secret than we imagined. We need to figure out what this alarm is connected to, and what the consequences will be once it is triggered. Jack pushed his glasses up habitually, and a cold light flashed across the lenses. This may be related to whether we can leave here safely. Or he paused. His eyes swept over Sophia and me. It may even be related to whether we can uncover the true identity of Raymond and this organization. I nodded and took a deep breath. My ability to be reminded of something emotional might come in handy. I looked around, my eyes falling on every object in the room. The ashtray on the table, the painting on the wall, even an inconspicuous footprint on the ground. I touched them one by one, trying to capture any fragments of memory related to the alarm system. However, nothing is found except snippets of Raymond's daily life. It seems that the core part of the alarm system is not here. I was a little frustrated. Don't lose heart, Aiden. Sophia patted my shoulder. Let's look carefully again. Maybe there's something we missed. We continued searching, leaving no corner unturned. Jack checked the electronic equipment while Sophia looked through the books and files in the room. I continued to use my abilities, hoping to find a breakthrough. Just when we were about to give up, I noticed something unusual behind the bookshelf. The carpet there was slightly darker in color, as if it had been frequently trampled on. I squatted down and touched the carpet with my hand, and a chill ran from my fingertips to my heart. I felt a hidden mechanical sound so subtle that I would not have noticed it unless I listened carefully. "Here!" I shouted, and Jack and Sophia immediately came over. Together we moved the bookshelves away, revealing an entrance hidden beneath the floor. It was a metal door, painted black, without any decoration, blending perfectly with the surrounding environment. There was a simple handle on the door, cold and heavy. I took a deep breath and gripped the handle. A strong feeling of dizziness came over me, and countless blurry images flashed through my mind. Raymond carefully opened the door and walked in nervously. Several men in black also entered the room, carrying boxes and a suffocating feeling of fear. "It's very dangerous down there." I withdrew my hand, my face a little pale. "But it's also important," Jack said firmly. "Perhaps this is the key we have been looking for." We exchanged glances and saw determination in each other's eyes. Jack took out a crowbar from his toolkit, inserted it into the crack of the door, and pried it open with force. With a dull sound, the metal door slowly opened, and a stale and damp smell rushed in. The basement was dimly lit and the air smelled of dust. By the light of the flashlight, we saw that it was filled with filing cabinets, computers, and some unknown equipment. We began to look through the documents carefully, and each document revealed the tip of the iceberg of this mysterious organization. The organization structure, membership list, source of funding, and even some criminal plans that have not yet been implemented. The more I watched, the more frightened I became. The power of this organization is far greater than we imagined, and their goals are even more terrifying. As we were immersed in the documents, I suddenly felt a strange smell, a feeling of being spied on. as if there were a pair of eyes watching our every move in the dark. I raised my head and looked around, but saw nothing. My heartbeat started to speed up, and a sense of foreboding came over me. Adrenaline was pumping through my veins, and my heart was pounding at a deafening pace. Damn it. While waving the dagger I snatched from the man in black, I quickly glanced at the battle situation around me. Lilith's whip danced like a nimble snake, and every swing was accompanied by a scream. Although old John was old, the shotgun in his hand was still accurate, and every bullet could take away an enemy. Even Anna, who usually looked weak, used a small crossbow to tear a hole in the enemy's formation. I must admit that we underestimated the enemy's strength. At first I thought that, with my ability to be moved by the sight of something, I could easily manipulate their emotions and make them lose their composure. But these men in black seemed to have been specially trained, and were on guard against my abilities. They remained alert at all times, with cold eyes and no emotional fluctuations, which made it difficult for me to find a breakthrough. Do they know my abilities? The thought gives me chills. If this is true, then our actions this time may have been exposed. Who leaked the news? I tried hard to recall every detail of the action, trying to find anything suspicious, but there are no clues yet. Aiden, be careful. Lilith's scream interrupted my thoughts. I turned around suddenly and saw a man in black stabbing at me with a dagger. I instinctively dodged to the side, and the dagger scraped past my ribs, causing a sharp pain. I gritted my teeth and stabbed the man in black in the abdomen with my backhand. We can't go on like this. We will be exhausted to death. Old John shouted. He was right. The men in black kept coming like a tide, and could not be killed. Although we can still hold out for now, our strength is depleting rapidly, and we will be overwhelmed by them sooner or later. Moreover, the documents we found in the basement have not yet been fully studied. I remember that document mentioned an organization called Night Owl, and a mysterious person codenamed X. My intuition tells me that this information is very crucial, and may be related to our actions this time, or even to these men in black. I must find a way to break through. My eyes fell on the entrance to the basement. That is the only exit at the moment, but it is also surrounded by men in black. A strong attack would definitely not work. We had to find another way. Although my ability of emotional triggering by sight cannot directly control these men in black, it may be able to be used to create chaos. I looked around for environmental factors that I could exploit. Suddenly, my eyes stopped on a pile of oil drums in the corner. A bold idea emerged in my mind. I took a deep breath and shouted to Lilith and the others, "Cover me." Then I rushed towards the oil barrel, concentrating my attention and trying to start the weak flames around it. I know this is risky and could backfire, but there is no other choice now. The flames grew gradually under my guidance and eventually ignited the oil barrel. With a loud bang, flames shot up into the sky, and thick smoke billowed. The men in black were startled by the sudden explosion, and there was a hint of chaos in their formation. "Now rush out," I shouted and rushed to the entrance first. Lilith, Old John, and Anna followed closely behind. The four of us fought with all our might, and under the cover of fire and thick smoke, we fought our way out. However, just as we were about to rush out of the basement, a powerful force suddenly pulled me back. I fell heavily to the ground and everything went dark. I heard Lilith scream, and the footsteps of the man in black getting closer and closer. My consciousness gradually blurred, and an ominous premonition came to my mind. Can we really escape? My clothes were soaked with sweat and the air in the basement was suffocatingly thick. The continuous influx of men in black is like a black tide that is about to drown us completely. I took a deep breath and tried to calm myself down. Panic will not solve the problem. It will only accelerate our demise. Jack leaned against the wall, his heavy breathing echoing in the narrow space. Sophia's face was pale, but the gun in her hand was still pointed steadily forward. We are trapped, completely trapped. If we fail to break out as soon as possible, not only will our lives be over, but the evidence we have collected about the Night Owl organization will also be burned. I must find a way. I looked closely at these men in black again. They are well trained and ruthless, but their attack methods are a bit rigid and lack variety. Also, I noticed a detail. They seem to change their attack strategy only after hearing some kind of whistle-like instruction. This suggests that they are likely to be commanded by some kind of central control system. If we can disrupt this system, we might be able to find a breakthrough. Jack, Sophia, I lowered my voice. These guys are like robots. Their action patterns are very fixed. I noticed that their attack instructions seem to come from some kind of whistle. If we can use this to our advantage. Jack wiped the sweat off his face, then said, "You mean we should use their patterns of action and concentrate our firepower to break through in one direction?" "That's right," I nodded, "and then use the terrain and equipment in the basement to create chaos and cover our retreat." Sophia agreed. "Although this plan is risky, we have no choice at the moment."
Okay, let's do it.
Jack's eyes were filled with renewed fighting spirit. The action begins. My ability to be emotionally moved by something played a huge role in this situation. I can predict the next move of the man in black, and warn Jack and Sophia in advance to dodge and counterattack. The three of us worked in perfect harmony, and stabbed into the enemy camp like a sharp knife. "Left! Sophia, look to the left!" I yelled. Sophia turned quickly and knocked down the man in black who tried to flank her with 2 shots. We successfully broke through the first line of defense, but more men in black came from all directions and surrounded us. The situation remains critical. In the chaos of the fight, my eyes swept around the corners of the basement. There were some electronic devices piled there, with faint indicator lights flashing. A bold idea emerged in my mind. If we can use these devices to interfere with the communication system of the men in black. I immediately told Jack and Sophia about this idea. "Cover me. I'll go check out the equipment." "You're crazy. It's too dangerous," Jack shouted. "This is our only hope." I gritted my teeth and rushed towards the corner while Jack and Sophia were fighting with the men in black. Bullets whizzed past my ears, and I felt like death was chasing me. I have to take a gamble. I rushed over to the equipment and began to examine it carefully. Wires, connectors, indicator lights. My brain raced, trying to figure out what these devices were for. As time passed, my heart was in my throat. Suddenly, I noticed a panel labeled Communication Control. The moment the jammer was activated, I clearly heard a piercing noise coming from the headphones of the men in black. Their movements immediately became chaotic. They pushed and cursed each other, running around like headless flies. "This is the perfect opportunity to escape," I yelled to Lisa and my companions. "Now get out." We crouched down, using the chaos as cover, and ran towards the exit. I knew that although the communications of the men in black were blocked, their firepower was still strong, and we had to fight quickly and decisively. I judged that they were temporarily unable to organize an effective counterattack, and could only shoot based on their instinctive reactions, which gave us precious time to break out. Halfway through the run, we ran into Raymond. "This guy is haunting us." He pointed his gun at us, a mad gleam in his eyes. My heart sank. It seemed a fierce battle was inevitable. However, at this moment, Frank Miller appeared. I secretly wondered where Frank Miller stood. Previous signs showed that he was not a man of integrity, and did not completely obey Raymond's orders. Perhaps he is the key to our escape. I decided to take a gamble and shouted, "Frank, do you really want to be Raymond's lackey for the rest of your life? Think about your conscience." My words seemed to touch Frank. He hesitated for a moment, his eyes moving between Raymond and me. Raymond shouted at him, "Frank, what are you doing? Shoot." Frank took a deep breath, turned the gun sharply and aimed at Raymond. I knew immediately that my bet had won. Frank had chosen justice. Frank's move completely disrupted Raymond's position and gave us a chance to catch our breath. While they were fighting, we quickened our pace, and under Frank's cover, finally rushed out of the basement door. However, as soon as I breathed in the fresh air, a chill ran up from the soles of my feet to my head. I immediately realized that we were facing a much more serious situation than in the basement. Outside the exit, there was not the freedom, as expected, but a sea of dark crowds. They were wearing the same black uniforms, armed with weapons, and surrounded us. Obviously, the mysterious organization was well prepared, and the basement was only the first line of defense. My heart sank. Could we escape this time? Have all the previous efforts been in vain? I looked around for any possible escape route. However, the encirclement was impenetrable, and it was impossible to escape. I felt Lisa holding my arm tightly, and her body was shaking slightly. I took a deep breath and tried to keep myself calm. Now is not the time to despair. I had to find a way to protect Lisa and my companions. I noticed that although the encirclement was tight, they seemed to deliberately maintain a certain distance and did not launch an attack immediately. This makes me feel a little confused. What are they waiting for? Is something even more terrible about to happen? In the sky, a helicopter slowly landed, and the roar of the propeller was deafening. A figure walked down from the helicopter, and under the light of the searchlight I could see his face clearly. It was a face I had never seen before, but it made me feel an inexplicable fear, as if it was a tremor coming from the depths of my soul. My intuition tells me that the real crisis has just begun. Sweat dripped down my temples and soaked my collar. Damn Raymond, this lunatic. I hid behind a fallen metal frame, my heart pounding. The explosion just now made my eardrums buzz. The shock wave of the explosion overturned everything around me, and a thick smell of gunpowder filled the air. Raymond was crazier than I thought. He actually turned the entire stronghold into a huge explosives depot. I knew this was the final battle. Raymond had no other options left, and he would go all out. We must be careful, or we may die here. I took a deep breath and tried to calm myself down. Where is Jack? I looked around, anxiously searching for him. Jack, I called out in a low voice. I'm here. Jack's voice came from not far away. He limped over, covering his arm, blood flowing out from between his fingers. Damn it, Raymond ambushed us, the old fox. I quickly checked Jack's injuries and asked, "Can you hold on?" Jack gritted his teeth and nodded. "He won't die. It's just a superficial wound." I breathed a sigh of relief. Jack's injuries were not serious, which gave me some comfort. The most difficult problem now is the hostages held by Raymond. Raymond hid in the control room of the core area, holding a gun in his hand, with the muzzle against the temple of a young girl. The girl was pale and trembling all over. Obviously, she was very frightened. Raymond laughed triumphantly, his eyes full of madness and despair. "Aiden, I know you are coming. Aren't you very powerful? Come here if you have the guts." Raymond's voice echoed in the empty stronghold. I clenched my fists, my heart filled with anger and helplessness. I can't be impulsive. Raymond is a desperado and he can do anything. If I act rashly, the girl will die. I have to find a way to delay time and wait for Sophia's support. I took a deep breath and tried to keep myself calm. "Raymond, you've already lost. Let the girl go, and I can guarantee your safe departure." Raymond laughed. "Leave safely. Do you think I will believe your lies? I have no way out. Either you come over, or I will kill her." My brain was working rapidly, thinking of a countermeasure. A strong attack will definitely not work. Raymond occupies the advantageous terrain and has hostages in his hands, so we must be cautious. Negotiation was impossible. Raymond had gone mad and would not listen to any persuasion, etc. I suddenly thought of my ability to be moved by something. If I could touch the items on the girl's body, perhaps I could sense what she had been through and find a breakthrough. I looked at the girl carefully. She was wearing a light blue dress, a silver necklace around her neck, and an electronic watch on her wrist. These are all clues that can be exploited. "Raymond, listen to me," I said. as I slowly approached the control room, trying to find an opportunity to get close to the girl. Raymond's eyes were fixed on me, and the gun in his hand never left the girl's temple. "Don't play tricks. If you take another step closer, I'll shoot." I paused, my mind racing, assessing the situation. I have to stay calm and find a foolproof plan. My eyes fell on the electronic watch on the girl's wrist. The watch seemed a little special. I vaguely felt that the watch might be hiding some important information, a key that could turn the situation around. Sweat soaked my collar. I was gasping for breath, and my heart was beating wildly. After successfully rescuing the hostages, I thought everything was settled. Raymond's crimes were exposed, and justice was finally served. However, I was wrong, and very wrong. I looked around and saw that the thugs who once obeyed Raymond's orders were now standing on our side with twinkling eyes. I understand that the sight brought back memories for them, and made them see Raymond's true face, and also made them realize that they had once aided and abetted the evil. This sudden realization both comforts me and makes me alert. After all, these people were once outlaws, and I couldn't be sure how loyal they were. Now is not the time to trust them completely. I have to remain vigilant. Jack and Sophia were also immersed in the joy of victory, with excited smiles on their faces. Jack patted my shoulder and said loudly, "Aiden, you are amazing. I didn't expect you could go back in time by touching objects. This is simply a superpower." I forced a smile, but I felt vaguely uneasy. Raymond's office was unusually quiet, so quiet that it was eerie. What about Raymond? Where did he go? A terrible thought suddenly flashed through my mind. Is there a trap? I immediately became alert and carefully observed my surroundings. Floors, walls, ceilings. Dangers may be hidden in any corner. I took a deep breath and forced myself to calm down. Now is not the time to panic. I must find Raymond as soon as possible and prevent any damage he may cause. Jack, Sophia, be alert. This may not be over yet, I said in a low voice. Raymond is missing. I'm worried that he will do something desperate. My words immediately made the two of them stop smiling, and they realized that things might not be that simple. The three of us stood back to back, carefully searching every corner of the office. Suddenly, I noticed that a computer screen in the corner of the office flashed, and a line of red countdown numbers appeared on it. My heart sank suddenly, and an ominous premonition came over me. I rushed to the computer and carefully looked at the information on the screen. This is the activation procedure of a self-destruct device. The countdown showed that in another 15 minutes the entire building would be blown to ashes. I felt a chill running from the soles of my feet to the top of my head. Raymond is so cruel that he would rather perish together with his enemy than surrender. What's even more terrifying is that there are not only us in this building, but also the hostages who have just been rescued, and the thugs who have turned against us. I am well aware that if the sound of gunfire was still ringing in my ears, and the residual heat from the explosion seemed to be burning my skin. We rushed out of the secret base hidden in the wilderness, thinking we had regained our freedom. But what greeted us was even deeper despair. I quickly looked around and saw at least 30 fully armed guys forming a circle, with the muzzles of their guns pointed at us. Jack cursed, and Sophia turned pale. The three of us stood back to back, and the weapons in our hands seemed particularly thin. Breakthrough. It's just a pipe dream. My mind was racing. The number of enemies far exceeded our expectations, and their firepower was even more fierce. If we fight head-on, we'll surely die. External support must be sought. Jack, Sophia, listen. I lowered my voice, trying to remain calm. We need help. Who to look for? Jack asked. Who else can we trust? This is indeed a problem. The informant who worked with us before has been exposed, and most people in the police station are controlled by that old fox, Kevin Green. We were almost alone. Richard White. I suddenly thought of someone. He's in the upper echelons of the police department. Jack and Sophia were both stunned. Richard White, the Deputy Chief of Police, has always supported my investigation, although he did not provide us with any substantial help due to Kevin Green's influence. Can he help us? Sophia was a little skeptical. Kevin Green won't let him go. I know it's risky. Kevin Green's power is deeply rooted, and Richard White is also restricted in many ways within the police station. But we have no other choice. It's worth a try, I said firmly. He's our only hope. If even he won't help us, we're really doomed. I must contact him as soon as possible. I immediately thought of Thomas Miller, a well-informed middleman. He was cautious and had been in contact with Richard White. Although I'm not sure whether he is reliable, at the moment I can only take a gamble. I contacted Thomas Miller through a secret channel, explained our situation briefly, and asked him to pass the message to Richard White. I repeatedly reminded him to be careful and avoid leaking the news. The waiting time was extremely long, and every second felt like a century. I held the gun tightly in my hand, vigilantly observing the movements around me, ready to respond to any emergency at any time. Jack and Sophia were just as nervous as I was, as if they were facing a great enemy. Finally, Thomas Miller replied. He successfully passed the message to Richard White, who promised to help. But Thomas Miller also reminded us that Kevin Green had noticed our actions and was trying to stop us. A glimmer of hope illuminated my heart, but it was also accompanied by a greater sense of crisis. Kevin Green's reaction was what I expected, but he was more alert than I thought. We are now like prey trapped in a spider's web, waiting for the spider's final fatal blow. I knew we would face even more intense attacks before reinforcements arrived. The air around seemed to freeze, making it suffocating. I felt an ominous premonition and knew that a storm was coming. The gunshots gradually died down, and in the smoke-filled air, I was breathing heavily, my clothes soaked with sweat. The battle just now was simply purgatory. If Richard White hadn't arrived in time, we would probably have died here. I observed the situation around me. The police force brought by Richard was clearing out the remaining enemies and sending the injured brothers to the ambulance. I knew in my heart that Richard's presence was a double-edged sword. He is undoubtedly our lifeline, but at the same time, his involvement may completely infuriate Kevin Green. I must find out Richard's position in this matter as soon as possible. Is he really here to support us, or does he have other purposes? I walked up to Richard, who was directing the police officers to set up a cordon. When he saw me, a relieved smile appeared on his face. Aiden, I'm so glad you're okay. I received the news that you were trapped here, and I brought people here immediately. His tone was sincere and there was no flaw in his eyes. But years of undercover work have made me suspicious, and I won't trust anyone easily, even someone who seems to be a friendly ally. Thank you for your support, Richard. If it weren't for you, we might have been. I paused deliberately, observing his reaction. He patted my shoulder and interrupted me. Stop talking about this. Fighting crime is our duty as police officers. But how did you get into such a big trouble? I briefly told him what had happened, of course, leaving out some key information about Kevin Green. I need to test him and see how he feels about Kevin Green, a mysterious organization. It sounds tricky. Richard frowned. It seems we need to investigate it carefully. His reaction was normal and he showed no signs of abnormality. I'm still not sure where he stands. Maybe he really doesn't know anything about Kevin Green. Richard, this matter is very serious. I am worried. I hesitated for a moment, but decided to hint to him. I am worried that there are some forces behind this that we cannot imagine. He was silent for a moment. His eyes became deep. I understand what you mean, Aiden. I will follow up on this matter personally. Don't worry, justice will eventually prevail over evil. His words made me feel a little more at ease. At least on the surface he was on our side, but deep down, I was still filled with doubts. At this moment I noticed a detail. Among the police officers brought by Richard, There was one whose eyes made me feel very uncomfortable. He always avoids me and dares not look me in the eye. I have a strong feeling that there is something wrong with this person. I decided to secretly investigate this suspicious police officer. I quietly walked up to a young police officer and asked casually. The fight just now was so intense that I didn't even notice it. "Which department are you from?" The young police officer saluted and replied, "We are from the City Police Department's Major Crimes Unit, sir." Serious Crime Unit. My heart skipped a beat. Richard was from the Narcotics Unit. So why would he bring people from the Serious Crime Unit to support us? There must be something fishy going on. I decided to hold off and continue to observe. I walked aside and pretended to make a phone call, but in fact I was observing the suspicious police officer out of the corner of my eye. I saw him sneak to a secluded corner, take out his cell phone, and make a call. Although I couldn't hear what he said, from his expression and tone, I could tell that the content of this call was definitely not simple. My intuition tells me that a bigger storm is coming. Although we have temporarily escaped the siege of the mysterious organization, the real danger may have just begun. Does the appearance of Richard White bring hope, or a bigger conspiracy? Who is that suspicious police officer in contact with? All of this, like a huge mystery, shrouded my heart and made me feel suffocated. I must solve these mysteries as soon as possible. Otherwise, we will all fall into an abyss from which there is no escape. As night fell, the sound of sirens gradually faded away. I looked up at the sky and saw a meteor streaking across the night sky, leaving behind a fleeting streak of light, just like our destiny at this moment, full of unknowns and variables. My palms were sweaty when I escaped from that damn factory area. The appearance of Richard White was undoubtedly a timely help, and his fire support bought us precious time to escape, but I knew it was only a brief respite. Kevin Green, the man as cold and venomous as a venomous snake, will never give up. His dark hand behind the scenes has not really been revealed yet, and I am like a moth caught in a spider web. The more I struggle, the deeper I sink. I lit a cigarette and the spicy taste of nicotine calmed me down a little. The information provided by Thomas Miller was like a faint light in the darkness, guiding me in the direction I should go. Jennifer Brown, this name keeps coming to my mind. She is the key to solving the mystery, and perhaps my hope for survival. Jack and Sophia, like me, had tired faces, but their eyes were determined. Finding Jennifer Brown was harder than I thought. She disappeared without a trace, as if she had evaporated from the face of the earth. We searched almost the entire city before we found her in a dilapidated apartment building. The moment I knocked on the door, my heart was in my throat. Behind the door, a woman with a haggard face and frightened eyes appeared in front of us. She trembled like a frightened bird. "Jennifer Brown?" I said, trying to sound mild. She flinched and nodded. "We're here to help you," I continued. "We know you have some important information about Kevin Green and Raymond." She raised her head sharply, her eyes filled with fear and suspicion. "I don't know what you're talking about." Her voice was shaking and she tried to close the door. I held out my hand to block the door. "Jennifer, I know you are scared, but only we can protect you. Kevin Green will not let go of anyone who knows his secret." My words seemed to touch a chord deep within her. She hesitated for a moment, but finally opened the door and let us in. The room was filled with a musty smell, and everything seemed even more depressing in the dim light. Jennifer Brown huddled on the couch, her hands wrapped around her knees. "I know who you are." She lowered her head and said, "I have been waiting for you." My heartbeat started to speed up. "What do you know?" I asked impatiently. She took a deep breath and began to tell everything she knew. Her voice was very soft, as if she was afraid of being heard. She used to be an employee under Raymond, responsible for handling some special business. She's been involved in human trafficking, money laundering, and even worse things. She knew about the collusion between Kevin Green and Raymond, and how they used the power and money in their hands to build a huge dark empire. I was horrified by what I heard and felt as if I was in a huge whirlpool that could be swallowed up at any time. She spoke intermittently, and every word was like a nail driving into my heart. I seemed to see the innocent lives they killed, and heard their desperate cries. My fists were clenched so tightly that my nails dug deep into my flesh. Kevin Green. She suddenly stopped, a trace of fear flashing in her eyes. He can do anything. I was about to ask further questions when suddenly, a rapid knock on the door broke the silence in the room. Jennifer Brown's head snapped up, her face pale. I had a bad feeling in my heart. The sound of gunfire is still ringing in my ears, and the smell of gunpowder is pungent and unpleasant. My hands were clenched tightly around the smoking gun, my knuckles turning white. The battle just now was short, but extremely fierce. Kevin Green's men were obviously well trained. If it weren't for our quick reaction and tacit cooperation, Jennifer Brown might have. I dare not think further. I glanced at Jennifer. She was pale, leaning against the wall, her eyes full of fear, yet a hint of gratitude. I gave her a comforting look, but my heart felt heavier. We have won the battle, but we have not won the war. Kevin Green is like a poisonous snake hiding in the dark, ready to give us a fatal blow at any time. The people he sent were obviously just the vanguard, and the real threat was still to come. How many enemies are we going to face? What means will they use? I couldn't have predicted it at all. The information that Jennifer Brown had told me in bits and pieces scattered like fragments in my mind. A huge mysterious organization, a conspiracy that could shake the entire city. These clues seem important, but they are like a fog that makes it difficult to see the direction. We are like walking on a tightrope, and if we are not careful, we will fall into the abyss. We have to get out of here, I said to the others, my voice low and firm. Kevin Green will send more men soon. We quickly took Jennifer Brown away from the building that had been blackened by gunfire. It was a dark night. The street lights were dim, and the streets were empty. Only the sound of our hurried footsteps echoed in the silent night. I felt an inexplicable sense of oppression, as if there were a pair of eyes in the darkness watching us, cold and full of malice. We found a secluded little hotel and settled down temporarily. The room was filled with damp and moldy smells. The dim light projected on the wall, casting mottled shadows and adding a touch of eerie atmosphere. I sat on the edge of the bed, my mind racing. The information provided by Jennifer Brown is like a complex puzzle. Only when we find all the pieces can we piece together the complete truth. But Kevin Green won't give us much time. He must be trying to find us and kill us to silence us. As time passed, I felt like I was trapped in a huge cage, unable to breathe. The fear of the unknown came like a tide, almost drowning me.
I had to stay calm and find a way to deal with it.
I got up, walked to the window, opened the curtains, and looked at the dark night sky outside. In the distance, the city lights flicker like prying eyes. I suddenly had a premonition that this battle has just begun, and what we are about to face will be even more brutal challenges. Who exactly is Kevin Green? How powerful is the mysterious organization behind him? What is their purpose? These questions are like huge question marks, making me breathless. I took a deep breath and tried to calm myself down. I know we can't just sit there and wait for death. We must take the initiative, find more clues, and uncover the truth in order to completely get rid of the threat of Kevin Green. I turned around and looked at the other people in the room. Their faces were filled with fatigue and anxiety, but their eyes were full of determination. I know that we are a team, and we must unite to overcome all difficulties. The wind outside the window became stronger, making a whistling sound like the growl of a wild beast. I felt a chill rising from the soles of my feet and spreading throughout my body. I know the storm is coming. Jennifer Brown is safe for now. Seeing her being placed in the safe house, my tense nerves relaxed a little, but this is just the calm before the storm. and Kevin Green's shadow still looms over us and cannot be shaken off. I know that this is not just a simple protection operation, but a game against corrupt power and the intricate dark forces. If you are not careful, you will be doomed. I have to be careful and tread carefully. I gathered Jack, Sophia, and Richard White, and we had to come up with a careful plan. Jack and Sophia are both my trusted partners. They are very capable and loyal. Although Richard White is inside the police station, I know that he is not Kevin Green's accomplice. He even hates Kevin Green's corrupt behavior. But he dares not speak out because of the other party's power. I believe he is an ally to be won over in this matter. The clues Jennifer Brown provided are crucial. I looked around at everyone. We need to use this as a breakthrough point to collect more evidence about Kevin Green and the mysterious organization. Both human and material evidence are essential. Only when we have solid evidence can we bring them to justice. Richard, I'll leave the pressure inside the police station to you. I looked at Richard White. I know this is dangerous, but you must find a way to put pressure on Kevin Green and make him lose his composure and reveal his true colors. Richard White nodded, his expression solemn. I will try my best, but Kevin Green has been running the police station for many years and is deeply rooted. This may not be easy. I know. I patted his shoulder. So we need to coordinate internally and externally and take a two-pronged approach. Jack, Sophia, Jennifer Brown's safety is in your hands. You must ensure her safety and never let her come into any harm again. Understood. Jack and Sophia answered in unison. In the next few days, we acted according to the plan. Richard White ran around the police department, using his connections to collect evidence of Kevin Green's violations of laws and regulations, and continued to put pressure on his superiors to launch an investigation into Kevin Green. I know he is under tremendous pressure, and that he would expose himself if he is not careful, but he still persists. I admire his courage. Jack, Sophia, and I took turns guarding Jennifer Brown and paying close attention to what was going on around us. Kevin Green is not a good person. He will definitely find ways to stop us, even if it means attacking Jennifer Brown again. We must remain vigilant and prepare for the worst. As expected, Kevin Green was aware of our actions. He is more cunning and ruthless than I thought. He actually took the initiative and used his influence within the police station to bite back, falsely accusing us of being accomplices of a mysterious organization in an attempt to catch us all in one fell swoop. For a time, there was panic inside the police station, and everyone was in danger. Jack, Sophia, and I were on the wanted list. Our former colleagues became our enemies. Richard White has also been suspended pending investigation and is in a precarious position. Pressure, enormous pressure came to us like a tide, almost swallowing us. But I didn't back down, and I couldn't back down. I know that this is a life and death struggle, and if I take a step back, I will fall into the abyss. I have to stay calm and find a way out. Among the clues provided by Jennifer Brown, there was an inconspicuous record that caught my attention. It was a string of seemingly meaningless numbers, but I vaguely felt that there was some secret hidden in it. I began to study this string of numbers carefully, trying various decryption methods. I had a hunch that this string of numbers was the key to our turning the situation around. In this head-on confrontation, I fully utilized my wisdom and abilities. Kevin Green's face turned pale, as if he had swallowed a fly. I watched him being taken away for investigation, but I didn't feel relieved at all. I know this battle is far from over. This person is vindictive and cruel. Now that I have tricked him, he must be holding a grudge against me. What's more, there is a mysterious organization backing him, and I still know nothing about their real purpose. I have to be prepared for the next counterattack. Inspector Richard White patted my shoulder and said, "Thanks to you, Aiden. It's only a matter of time before Green falls." I forced a smile but couldn't hide my inner uneasiness. "Inspector White, I always feel that things are not that simple. We haven't touched upon the person behind Green yet." Inspector White nodded in agreement. "You are right. We still need to continue investigating. Green is just a puppet. The mastermind behind the scenes is the key. I started thinking about how to deal with it. First, I have to improve my own protection. Green's minions are all over the city, and I must be careful to avoid falling into their traps. I contacted Thomas Miller, who had previously provided a number of clues about Green's corruption, and was a trustworthy informant. I told him that after Green's fall, his situation might be more dangerous, and he needed to be extra careful. Miller expressed understanding and promised to continue cooperating with my investigation. Secondly, I have to find a way to dig out more information about the mysterious organization. Green's capture might alert their enemies and make them more secretive and even more crazy. I have to take more control before they take further action. I carefully recalled every detail of my contact with Green, trying to find clues. I suddenly remembered that before Green was taken away, he looked at me meaningfully. That look was full of resentment and warning. Could it be that he knew something that I hadn't discovered yet? I tried hard to recall the scene at that time. Green was held by 2 police officers. He struggled to break free. His eyes swept over me, and his lips moved slightly, as if he wanted to say something, but in the end he said nothing. I suddenly realized that Green's eyes were not just full of resentment, but a hint. He was warning me that I was touching something I shouldn't be touching. My heart sank suddenly, and a chill ran from the soles of my feet to the top of my head. What exactly is this mysterious organization? What is their purpose? I realized that I was caught up in a vortex that was more dangerous than I had imagined. Although my ability to be inspired by scenes allowed me to obtain key information, it also made me their target. I have to figure all this out as soon as possible. Otherwise, not only will I be in danger, but my family, friends, and even the entire city may be implicated. As night falls, I stand at the window, looking at the lights of the city, my heart filled with anxiety and uneasiness. I know that a bigger storm is coming, and I am standing in the center of the storm. Kevin Green's capture is just the beginning. The real challenge has just begun. In the distance, a street lamp flickered and then went out. This seemed to be an ominous sign, foreshadowing that darkness was about to fall on the city. I clenched my fists and swore to myself that no matter what, I would protect this city and the people I loved. In the smoke-filled room, the air was so heavy that it seemed frozen. Kevin Green, that old fox, will never give up. I took a deep puff of the cigarette. The taste of nicotine did not relax me, but instead increased my inner anxiety. Jack paced back and forth impatiently, while Sophia lowered her head in thought, her fingers tapping on the table in a rhythmic sound. Only Richard White, the old guy, remained annoyingly calm, as if everything was under his control. I looked around at everyone, thinking quickly in my mind. The current situation is very unfavorable to us. Kevin Green has been running the police department for many years and is deeply rooted. It is difficult for us to confront him head-on, and that mysterious organization is like a poisonous snake lurking in the dark, which can give us a fatal blow at any time. I had to come up with a foolproof plan to protect Jennifer Brown's safety, bring down Kevin Green, and uncover the truth behind the mysterious organization. Kevin Green will definitely use his connections in the police department against us, I said, breaking the silence. We must be prepared. Jack stopped and nodded in agreement. Yes, he will definitely try to create trouble for us and make us unable to take care of ourselves. And Jennifer Brown, Sophia looked up. Richard White finally spoke. I have arranged for Thomas Miller to continue collecting evidence of Kevin Green and the mysterious organization. We need more evidence to completely bring them down. In the meantime, we must increase protection for Jennifer Brown, I added. I recommend that she be moved to a safer location. We agreed on a specific plan and decided that Jack and I would be responsible for Jennifer Brown's safety, while Sophia would assist Richard White in collecting evidence. Everyone knew that the next action would be fraught with danger, but we had no choice. Things turned out to be worse than we expected. Kevin Green was really desperate. He teamed up with some desperate criminals under Raymond to create chaos inside the police station in an attempt to distract our attention. I realized that this might be a trap to lure the tiger away from the mountain so that they could attack Jennifer Brown. I immediately contacted the officers assigned to protect Jennifer Brown and urged them to remain vigilant. At this moment, my cell phone suddenly rang. It was the police officer who was responsible for protecting Jennifer Brown. His voice was trembling with a hint of fear. "Inspector Aiden, it's bad. Jennifer Brown's hiding place has been attacked." My heart sank suddenly, and an ominous premonition came over me. Kevin Green's strategy of making a feint to the east and attacking in the west was successful. I immediately notified Jack, Sophia, and Richard White, and we had to rush to Jennifer Brown's hiding place immediately. We rushed to the scene as quickly as possible, and the scene before me made me feel suffocated. The originally quiet villa had been completely destroyed, with scattered furniture and glass fragments everywhere, and the air was filled with a strong smell of blood. "Jennifer!" I screamed, filled with fear and anxiety. No response. I forced myself to calm down and began to observe my surroundings carefully. The bloodstains on the floor, the bullet holes on the wall, the scattered weapons. All of these indicate that a fierce gun battle took place here. My eyes fell on a photo in the corner of the wall, which was a photo of Jennifer and her family. In the photo, Jennifer's smile is so bright and warm. Suddenly, a strange feeling came over me, a sense of déjà vu. I seemed to have gone back in time, back to that sunny afternoon. I was walking in the park with Jennifer. We were chatting, laughing. Everything was so beautiful. Pictures appeared in front of my eyes. Jennifer's voice, smile, and every frown and smile were clearly presented in my mind. I felt my heartbeat start to speed up and my breathing became rapid. I know that my ability to be emotionally moved by the scene has been triggered. The sound of gunfire was still ringing in my ears, and the smell of gunpowder was pungent and unpleasant. I leaned against the wall, breathing heavily, my clothes soaked with sweat. Jennifer Brown, the important witness, was now hiding in a dilapidated van at the end of the alley, terrified. I must admit that this victory was somewhat lucky. Kevin Green, this old fox, sent people who were well equipped but whose tactics were too simple and crude. I suspect this is just a test, a feint to find out our true colors. I recalled the scenes I saw when I was touched by the scene before, the route the enemy squad took, their usual gestures, and even the angles of the reflections on their helmets. These details are clearly imprinted in my mind. It was thanks to these predictions that I was able to set traps in advance and lure them into the encirclement. But this victory also exposed our position. Kevin Green must have known by now that Jennifer Brown was around. What will he do next? I closed my eyes and tried to calm myself down. Emily came over and handed me a bottle of water. "Are you okay, Aiden?" Her face was filled with worry. "It's okay." I took a sip of water and felt a little better. "I'm just wondering what Kevin Green will do next." "He won't give up," Emily said firmly. "We have to get Jennifer to a safe place as soon as possible." I nodded in agreement. But the question is, where is the safe place? Kevin Green's influence is spread throughout the city, and our every move is under his surveillance.
I looked at John, a quiet man who was the calmest and most reliable member of our team.
"John, what do you think?" I asked. John pondered for a moment and said, "We can't stay in the city anymore. We have to go to the suburbs, preferably a place where there are few people." His suggestion is exactly what I want. Kevin Green's spies are everywhere in the city. We are like a turtle in a jar. Sooner or later, he will find us. Although conditions in the suburbs are harsh, it is easier to hide your whereabouts and set up fortifications. "I agree," I said. "Let's leave here as soon as possible and go to the abandoned factory outside the city."
That abandoned factory was something I had accidentally seen when I was touched by the scene before. It was located in a remote area, easy to defend and difficult to attack, and it was an ideal hiding place.
We quickly packed up our equipment and prepared to evacuate. At this moment I suddenly felt a palpitation and an ominous premonition came to my mind. I activated the emotional scene again, and a picture appeared in front of my eyes. Night fell. The abandoned factory was surrounded by a raging fire, and we were trapped in the sea of fire with no way to escape. What does this portend? Did Kevin Green predict our actions? Or are there other dangers? I felt a chill down my spine. Wait, I called out to Jennifer Brown, who was about to get in the car. We can't go to the abandoned factory. Everyone looked at me in confusion, not understanding why I suddenly changed my mind. I have a bad feeling, I said, trying to keep myself calm. That place might not be safe. Where are we going then? Emily asked anxiously. I looked around, trying to find a new hiding place. My eyes fell on a church in the distance. The spire of the church towered into the clouds, standing out in the night. Go to the church. I pointed in the direction of the church. It may be the only safe place. I can't explain why I chose the church, but a voice deep in my heart told me that that is where our hope lies. But at the same time, that ominous feeling still lingered, as if something terrible was about to happen. As the night grew darker, we sped towards the church. Behind us, it seemed as if countless pairs of eyes were watching us. An invisible pressure enveloped us, making it hard to breathe. Kevin Green's fangs were flashing coldly in the darkness. Sweat soaked my combat uniform, and the winding red line on the map was like a venomous snake, lurking in my heart. Kevin Green's revenge is more violent than expected, and we can no longer passively take the beating. Jennifer Brown's safety was at stake, and I had to take the initiative. I stared at the map, running my finger along possible routes. Kevin Green is a cautious and suspicious person, and a head-on attack would inevitably result in heavy losses. Although he has many subordinates, there are only a dozen core members who can really fight. I need a plan to catch them all, lure the snake out of its hole, I whispered. As soon as this idea came out, it was immediately agreed by team members. Kevin Green is targeting Jennifer Brown, and we can take advantage of that. I looked around at everyone, quickly analyzing each person's abilities and strength, and gradually formed a complete plan in my mind. First, we need a stand-in. It wasn't difficult to find someone with a similar body shape to Jennifer Brown. The key was how to make Kevin Green believe it. I thought of David, who was great at disguise and impersonation, and could play the role of Jennifer Brown perfectly. Second, we need to choose a suitable transfer route. This route must be plausible, and yet maximize our advantages. I found a canyon area on the map. The terrain there is complex and easy to defend, but difficult to attack. It is a perfect place to set traps. Most importantly, I needed to anticipate Kevin Green's moves. I took a deep breath and activated my ability to be moved by the scene. Close your eyes and imagine yourself in Kevin Green's shoes. Think about his situation, his goals, and the means he might take. I saw his anxious expression, heard him giving orders to his subordinates, and even felt the fear and anger deep in his heart. This information flooded into my mind like a tide. I quickly analyzed and screened it, and finally came up with a few key points. Kevin Green would send at least 2 teams, one for head-on interception and one for flanking. He would use drones for reconnaissance. He would choose to act at night to reduce the risk of being discovered. With this information, I can set traps accordingly. Snipers can be ambushed on the hillsides on both sides of the canyon. Mines and tripwires can be set up at the bottom of the canyon, and jamming devices can be deployed in the air to cut off enemy communications. After the plan was completed, I assigned tasks to each group and repeatedly emphasized the details and precautions of the action. I know that this battle will be extremely brutal and that I will lose everything if I am not careful. But to protect Jennifer Brown and for the survival of the team, we must do our best. The disguised convoy slowly drove into the canyon, with Jennifer Brown, played by David, sitting in the car. Everything went as expected. Kevin Green fell into the trap and sent out his elite troops. As night fell, a tense atmosphere filled the canyon. I hid in the dark, watching the enemy walk into our trap step by step. My heartbeat started to speed up, and my palms started to sweat slightly. Suddenly, a gunshot broke the silence. The smell of gunpowder had not yet dissipated, and the air was filled with the smell of blood and gunpowder. My ears were buzzing, and the rush of adrenaline made me tremble all over. But I was extremely clear-headed. We won this tough battle, and several prisoners were tied up and kneeling on the ground, looking dejected. I looked around and breathed a sigh of relief, after confirming that my people were safe. This victory was hard-won. We lost several outstanding soldiers. Their sacrifice makes me sad, but also strengthens my determination to bring Kevin Green and that mysterious organization to justice. Begin the interrogation, I ordered. I must get more information from these prisoners as soon as possible. The interrogation went smoothly. Perhaps after seeing our strength, the prisoners quickly confessed everything they knew. They revealed more details about Kevin Green's collusion with the mysterious organization, including the location, time, and participants of some secret transactions. This information is very valuable and provides important clues for our subsequent investigation. I listened carefully to the interrogator's report, but I became more and more uneasy. Although this information is important, it always feels like it was revealed to us deliberately. Who is Kevin Green? A wily fox. Would he let us get this information so easily? I feel like this is more like a bait, a trap to make us let our guard down and take it lightly. I looked at the captives. Their eyes flickered with fear and cunning. I can't fully trust their words. They may be hiding more important information. I need to be more cautious and not let the victory in front of me go to my head. Continue the interrogation and don't miss any details, I ordered. At the same time, strengthen vigilance to prevent the enemy from counterattacking. I have a strong feeling Kevin Green has yet to pull out his trump card. He is an extremely dangerous person and will never give up easily. Moreover, from the few words spoken by the captives, I felt that there seemed to be a more powerful force supporting the mysterious organization. This force is hidden in the dark and elusive, but it is controlling the situation at all times. Although we have made some progress, we still have a long way to go before we can fully uncover the truth. This battle is just the beginning, and greater challenges are yet to come. I must be fully prepared for the coming storm. It was late at night and I was sitting alone in my tent with the intelligence I had obtained from the prisoners. In the dim light, I carefully read every word above over and over again, trying to find more hidden information. Suddenly, my eyes stopped on an inconspicuous line of text. This line of text records a string of seemingly meaningless numbers and letters. My heart was shocked and an inexplicable sense of uneasiness came over me. This string of characters looks like some kind of code. Could it be that Kevin Green left it there on purpose? What message did he want to convey? I took out a pen and paper and started trying to decipher the code. I tried all the common code cracking methods, but to no avail. The arrangement of this string of characters is extremely complex and seems to contain some special rules. As time passed, my brows became more and more furrowed. I realized that this password might be more important than I thought. It may very well contain key clues to uncover the truth of the whole incident, or it may be a trap set by Kevin Green. I looked at the mysterious string of characters in my hand and fell into deep thought. The handwriting on the intelligence was a little blurry due to sweat, but I still read it again word by word. Kevin Green, this name now lingers in my heart like a poisonous snake. Intelligence shows that most of his armed forces have been destroyed by us, and his capital chain is on the verge of breaking. Now he is like a trapped beast, and may do crazy things at any time. I looked around and saw my teammates were all sitting around the table. The atmosphere was as heavy as solidified asphalt. Richard White, the honest detective, was pale and his lips were tightly pursed. He was my only support in the police department, and one of the few people I knew I could trust completely. Jennifer Brown, a key witness to the incident, is wringing her fingers anxiously at this moment. Her safety is our top priority. We must prepare for the worst. I broke the silence. Kevin Green is likely to go all out and join forces with that mysterious organization to launch a general attack on us. And Jennifer, what other power does he have? Anna, our intelligence expert, asked. Her usual cool head was key to our analysis of the situation. Intelligence shows that he still has some die-hard followers, as well as the remnants of the mysterious organization. Although there are not many of them, they are all desperate criminals and should not be underestimated. I handed the intelligence to her. Also, we cannot rule out the possibility that he will use some unconventional means, such as kidnapping, assassination. We had to keep Jennifer and ourselves safe. The police station is an official place with strong defense and can serve as the main defense base. In the meantime, we need to arrange a new hiding place for Jennifer, just in case. Richard, can the police station's defenses be strengthened? I looked at Richard. He knew the seriousness of the matter and nodded immediately. I will try my best to mobilize more police forces, strengthen patrols and surveillance, and ensure the safety of the police station. He was well aware of Kevin Green's madness, and he also knew that there might be his accomplices inside the police station, so he had to act cautiously to ensure that the mobilized police force was reliable. Well, Jennifer's safety is also of paramount importance. I turned to Jennifer. We need to get you somewhere safer. Although Jennifer was afraid, she still said firmly, I trust your arrangement. After some discussion, we decided to move Jennifer to a secret safe house, where our people would be on duty in shifts 24 hours a day. For the next few days, we were on high alert. Richard successfully mobilized more police forces and conducted an internal investigation of the police station to ensure that there was no accomplice to Kevin Green. We have reinforced the police station's fortifications and set up multiple layers of defense. We have also deployed strict security measures in the safe house. We even used our ability to simulate various possible attack scenarios and developed corresponding response strategies. I repeatedly played out every possible move Kevin Green might take, thinking about his psychological activities and trying to find his flaws. The scene-evoking ability makes us feel as if we are in a real battle and feel the pressure and tension of the battle in advance. We simulated again and again, constantly refining our tactics in an effort to gain the upper hand in real combat. Time passed by minute, and the air was filled with tension. We are like a group of bows and arrows with taut strings, waiting for the final decisive battle. Everything is ready, and we are ready to go, just waiting for Kevin Green to arrive. We believe that with our preparation and teamwork, we will be able to defeat him. However, just when we thought everything was under control, something unexpected happened. I took a deep breath and tried to calm myself down. Jennifer's disappearance was like a bucket of cold water that extinguished the hope we had just ignited. My mind raced, analyzing the possibilities. Kevin Green? Mysterious organization? Or is it some other force that we are not aware of? Kevin Green is the most likely suspect. He is scheming and has always held a grudge against Jennifer. Maybe he knew that Jennifer was our key witness, so he took the initiative and kidnapped her to threaten us, or simply killed her to silence her. If so, we must find Jennifer as soon as possible and rescue her before anything happens to her. Of course, the possibility of a mysterious organization cannot be ruled out. They are extremely powerful and cruel, and perhaps they have already set their sights on Jennifer. Kidnapping her may be to obtain intelligence or to disrupt our plans. If this is true, the situation becomes even more complicated. We will be facing a huge and secretive organization. Trying to save people from them is like pulling teeth from a tiger's mouth. Another possibility is the intervention of a third party. Perhaps someone related to Kevin Green or a mysterious organization kidnapped Jennifer for some purpose. Although this possibility is small, it cannot be completely ruled out. Regardless, the priority is to find Jennifer. Thomas Miller was the last person to see Jennifer. I immediately contacted him and asked him in detail about the circumstances before and after Jennifer's disappearance, hoping to find some clues. Thomas told me that he had lost contact with Jennifer after she left the hotel that morning, and he tried calling her but no one answered. Did she mention where she was going, or who she was meeting? I demanded. Thomas recalled carefully and shook his head. No, she said she was going to take a walk nearby, and then she never came back. I felt powerless. The clue ended here. Jennifer disappeared without a trace, as if she had evaporated from the face of the earth. I told the rest of the gang that Jennifer was missing. Everyone was shocked, and anxiety spread throughout the room. I know that we cannot panic and must remain calm in order to find a solution to the problem. We have to split up, I said in a deep voice. One group will continue to investigate Kevin Green. Another group will look for Jennifer's whereabouts, and another group will be responsible for guarding against the enemy's attack again. Everyone nodded in agreement. We quickly developed an action plan and assigned tasks. I know that time is running out, and every minute and every second counts. I looked at my companion's anxious expressions and my heart was filled with worry. Jennifer's disappearance cast a shadow over us and made me realize that this battle is more complicated and dangerous than we thought. The enemies we face are not only cunning, but also powerful. If we are not careful, we will lose everything. I clenched my fists and swore in my heart that no matter what the cost, I would find Jennifer and bring those behind the scenes to justice. This battle has just begun. We must not give up easily. I looked at my friends. David frowned and kept tapping his fingers on the table, obviously thinking of a solution. Mary looked pale and clenched her hands tightly, showing her inner anxiety. Even John, who was always calm, seemed a little anxious at the moment. He kept scanning the room, as if looking for something. The vault is closing, but the next enigma awaits. Click that bell, or the truth may bury you forever.